It's quitting time.
Perfect.
That's supposed to give you enough time to get to your seat. Since I
didn't build that into this.
Well, because I set us up a little bit weird. Not sorry. I just want to say that I am jealous that RD has Ghirardelli milk chocolate.
Oh, say it again, but like in a more...
Ghirardelli.
Ghirardelli.
Okay.
Ghirardelli.
Welcome to Quittin Time.
We've got a bit of a different setup. This is our Christmas... This is our holiday episode where we go back to clips. Hey, remember that time? And then that other time?
Are we really doing that?
I mean, we're not really doing that, but
I don't know how to do that.
I know you haven't seen enough classic television.
I did leave space above our heads though, which we don't normally do.
For our, when we could say like, here's the link to that episode earlier. Okay, so
except this is live, which
right. Okay, speaking of live, this is welcome everyone. We're in a bit of a different scenario, sitting down. Nicole set all this up mostly while I was working or pretending to work, whatever I did.
I wasn't working while he was working, but I did set it up.
This is work, I guess. And then, so it's all set up. So I hope you appreciate the Christmas scene. We got a Christmas tree, which has all the, what would you call those things? Like tree of shame
Whoopsies.
or whatever? Yeah. I said whoopsies with the extra H.
Whoopsies.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsies.
And we're technically still open. So we had a little bit, we sold 2 bikes today, and actually Tony is out delivering one of them. So the guy said, oh, just bring it by whenever, and it's getting dark and it's getting cold. I mean, it's dark, but it's getting colder and colder. And I was like, get out of here. So it's just us here. Brandon is off in the shop.
So if one of us steps away.
Yeah, we got some bikes delivered.
Go to the door.
So if someone comes with the doors right here, and if someone comes to the door, we might have to jump up and greet them or whatever. So we're technically open for the next 25 minutes or something. And we're flying by the seat of our pants. In case you're new here.
That's typical.
That's what we do.
That's exactly what we do. That's who we are as people.
Yeah. And I've got my little cool podcast thing right here where I can do this. I hope that came across as a laughter. Nicole hates it. Look at the disdain. You can see. Well, if this wasn't live, we would do a slow zoom on the disdain of her face. All
right, we're gonna jump right in.
Hate sound effects.
So I have my hot chocolate.
Sound
I have my hot chocolate. You have your
Coca-Cola.
Coke. RD has his Ghirardelli milk chocolate caramel.
I definitely cannot read the chat at all.
That's why I have it in
Thank you.
This is why I hold it in my hand. People are probably like, what is she doing on her phone? She's doing nothing. No, I am.
She's just bored by their own podcast. What was that again?
I'm producing from the side. But RD said pushing the bike in and closing the door is like when Mr. Rogers put on his sweater.
Yeah. It's a beautiful day in the shop tonight.
I'm sure people who watched Mr. Rogers growing up knows what that means.
He walks in every day, and Nicole did not have a childhood, everyone, so I do have to explain some of these things sometimes to her. So he would walk in at the beginning of every episode, and basically, it's a big thing that he puts his shoes next to his other shoes, so he puts on house shoes, and he puts on his house sweater, and as he's singing, he's basically going from whatever he does as his day job to now he's home and he's visiting with you. And
Isn't Mr. Rogers' day job being Mr. Rogers?
I mean, you would assume, but that's not how the show is set up. The premise of the show is he's coming home to spend the time with you. I was out in the day, but now we're home and I'm putting on my house shoes.
Oh,
and that's
so the premise is not that he's there to entertain children as the job Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, and what's weird about it too is he's kind of just the host. The other things happen. There are puppet characters and stuff like that. So he's just the human transition to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Okay. I don't know. It's very weird. If you think about it, it is very strange.
So Roland said, if they come in, make them join the show. That is,
here's a random customer. Tell us why you want to buy a thing today.
Yeah, well,
and they're like, I just want to use the bathroom.
No. 20-minute interview. That's the admission to being able to use the bathroom.
Tell us why you don't want to buy a thing, and then we'll convince you.
Well, for the several people who are joining us on Friday for today, that's what today is if you didn't know.
When's Friday?
You know what? Today. So joining Quittin Time on a Friday. Thank you. We wanted to get one more Quittin Time in for the rest of the year. So that's why I called it all wrapped up. So we're going to try to wrap up the year. Yeah.
Like a present.
I like puns. Thank you.
Do you have one for me?
No.
What do you call it when you're attracted to both men and women, but you're single?
Baloney.
Let's by yourself. You don't know that one?
No.
I just heard that one the other day.
No, I have never heard that before.
I don't know. Anyway, so I already used my other one about the how come there are Pop-Tarts but no Mom-Tarts, and it's because of the pastryarchy.
Pastryarchy.
I don't know if that's a pun. I guess that's a pun. That's a pun. It's not a pun. It's a dad joke, though. Classic. Okay. Obvious. It should be obvious we don't have much of a topic today. We have had some things going on. Last time was all about India. So if you have more questions or whatever, if this is your first time joining into Quittin Time, let me give a little bit of a backup and an intro. Is that I'm Dylan. This is Nicole. I guess along with my dad, are the owners of Throttle Company, which is a motorcycle shop here in Columbus, Ohio. We do vintage bikes, so we consider that sort of 60s and 70s mostly. And then we do brand new Royal Enfields and brand new Moto Guzzi's. Last time we had just gotten back from India, which is the home of Royal Enfield. So that was very Royal Enfield centric. So I think this time we should probably maybe do our best to include Moto Guzzi. They're newer. So when we first started 3.5 years ago, we brought on Royal Enfield right away. They were how we started the whole thing. We had 17 bikes delivered into this empty building, and it was crazy. And now 17 seems like nothing. We've had 29 in one day was our record delivered, new bikes delivered to us, which is kind of scary when you think about how much money is involved in that. And I don't want to get down into the crazy finance of it all, but basically at some point in time, we are on the hook for that. So it gets a little scary, but we just got back from the Royal Enfield thing, and then we've had Moto Guzzi for about 1.5 years. This is our first full year. And we love them both, so we're happy to talk about what's coming from both of those brands here.
So I wanted to kind of go back through Quittin Times this year.
You are doing the clip show.
Because it's interesting that I used to do this thing about, ask us a question and then we'll answer it live, and then we realized that you can do that in the chat. But
you can show
almost a year ago, there was a question that was, let me get back to it. Thoughts on the rumored Hemi 450.
So
January 20th's Quittin Time. That was the first time we were asked that.
Almost a year ago. See, we had just talked about that. We've been meeting. This is planning time for motorcycle shops, and we met with both of our. Sorry for that microphone noise there. Both of our regional managers from both those brands this week, and I was saying that it has been a long time. We still don't have the Himalayan 450, but you and I, as we just referenced, were in India, and they had them there. That was the launch of them. So at the Motoverse event in India, and so that we've seen and sat on, and we have a video on the Himalayan 450s if you're checking it out on YouTube. It's my standard first look. I'm not riding it, but I'm on it and I'm talking about it, and telling you how interesting it is to see it in person. And that was rumored. I don't know what level it was rumored, but I know that they were talking about it. I mean, and we saw photos, you and I, now that it's been released. Mark Wells, who is head of development or product development, so he makes the new bikes. He had posted a photo that was taken in 2017 of the Himalayan 450, original prototype. So that is how far into the future that Royal Enfield.
So that's practically before the current 411 platform was even introduced. Right after the one that's sitting over there in the other room is the 411 Himalayan that we all know and love. It's right after they announced that. They were already on to the next thing. We have a 411. What's next? It's a dual overhead cam, water-cooled 450. And they've been doing that for 4 or 5 years. So the rest of the second half of that question was, would it really be that different? And I think, yes.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
I think it's not so different to not call it a Himalayan.
I want to hear what you say. You are a Himalayan owner.
I am a Himalayan owner, and I am a Himalayan aficionado.
Ooh, very fancy.
And I will be sad that the current 411 platform will be going away. And I was very mentally prepared and almost trying to convince myself that I wouldn't like the 450. However, I think one of my skills when it comes to motorcycles is I don't compare them to each other. And I think that that's a big problem that a lot of people do, is they want to compare, for example, a Himalayan's only a 411. That can't possibly be big on whatever. Compared to what?
Right. Walking.
Yeah. What can the Himalayan 411 do? The things it's supposed to do in the power it's supposed to do. If you want to compare it to a Triumph Tiger or a Cruiser, yeah, sure, it's going to be considered underpowered or whatever. But for what it is not underpowered. So for me, the Himalayan 411 in its current form, I have a 2022.
I don't remember. It's funny because you bought it on the last day. Yes, I bought it on the last day.
Year. So I can't remember.
This time of year, how many times earlier today were like 24, 25, 23?
Yeah. So the current iteration, in the sense that, you know, there were some issues on the 18 and 19 model years that have been resolved. But like the most up-to-date version of the Himalayan 411 is the one that I own. And I love it. Mm-hmm. I would consider the Himalayan 450 a completely different motorcycle.
Definitely.
So in name, I think that it is a good progression of the 411. Like it's a big sister to it rather than a completely, it's not, it is going to effectively be a replacement, but I don't think that it is like the 411 grew up. It's the 450 is just here now.
The next version of it. That's normal. I mean, they do that in motorcycles. They've been doing it
but
for a
they're
long
different
time.
enough that I don't think that it's, I mean, I think you can look at it both ways, as it could be the next iteration of the 411, or it just is, if the 411 continued on, I think it would probably be okay with the 450
simultaneously,
because they are different enough.
Yeah, but basically the 411 is the oldest bike in the fleet currently, and it needs an update, and that's the update. Royal Enfield's a very, after being there, and that was a big takeaway from our trip, is how forward thinking they are. That's kind of what I'm saying, is that in 2017, so right now they're probably working on things that are 2028 or something, you know, so that far in the future.
Yeah, and I feel like that's where I was kind of going with that, is that as much as I love the 411, I've been thinking back and forth since we saw it in India that until I ride it, of course I'm not going to be able to make a decision, but I would be torn with, do I keep mine or do I get the 450? Because I do think that there are some things the 450 are going to do better. But again, I'm not necessarily going to compare the two of them. They are certainly, you could have your two columns and have, here's what the 411 does well and here's what the 450 does well. But in my mind, if you think about them as two separate entities, they are still good in their own right.
This is interesting, and I acknowledge this. We talk about this a lot, especially here on this this forum, which is our Quittin Time, is that you and I think about motorcycles, the next motorcycle purchase, as fleet building. And I think the average person doesn't necessarily have that luxury, though I do feel like most motorcycle owners own more than one. I know that sounds funny to say, but I think a lot of people are thinking, because I feel like when they have these sort of aggressive stances where people are like, oh, 450 or 411 or buy the 411 or a KLR or something, they're thinking it's because the implied sort of end of the sentence is as my one bike, my one and only bike. So and that's a completely different proposition than you're saying.
Yes, we've talked about that a lot.
Where does it fit in my whole ecosystem?
I'm not so sure that I would consider myself building a fleet as filling a stable.
Yeah, and the thing that happens is whatever you're having that's more than one, a computer or a guitar or a car or whatever. You have a pickup truck that hauls your stuff. You have a car that's good for gas mileage and road trips and parking in downtown or whatever. And they do different things. So it would be hard to say, oh, that a Prius is better than an F-150. Well, yeah. For doing a gas mileage, but not for hauling a thing. So that's why the question or the attitude is so weird to us, is because it just feels like I don't understand. The question doesn't really make any sense.
I feel like we've had this a lot, and this is usually my answer, but like a lot of things with us and with both of the brands that we have is that I'm going to have a long, complicated answer to a simple question.
Well, that's definitely true. That's us. That's you and me.
And I'm going to pivot very quickly just because I was going through a lot of the questions that we've gotten this year.
Yeah.
This one happens to be relevant to something happening next year, but I want to make sure I don't forget to say it.
Go for it.
Somebody asked, give the sales pitch to a new rider.
To just become a new rider? Is that what they mean?
This was Aaron's question a long time ago, but I don't know if we really ever addressed it. Interestingly enough, as is my... who I am as a person. A full year has gone by, and now I'm doing the thing I probably said back a year ago when we were doing Quittin Time.
You're doing the thing. Oh,
I'm doing the thing.
I'm answering the question. I'm more of, it'll take me a year to get back to your text.
Same. But for this, catch
my live stream and ask me there. I'll answer it.
Yes. During the office hours that we hold very infrequently, we might answer your question. But yeah, so I'm starting in January a 3-month. It's currently only 3 months, but I think I might need to expand it to 4 and 5 months.
It can be, or maybe start over. It's like a course. Yeah.
So I am doing becoming a motorcycle rider meetup education series, and it's starting January 18th. And there's one a month, and they go over different topics that are timely to that month, which is why I'm not sure starting over is really going to work. So for me, the class to get into your state class for licensure starts in January. Can you interrupt me? You already did.
But can I, though?
Sure.
Am I allowed?
No.
All I was going to say was the whole reason why I think you might need to start over. Someone's going to hear about it and be like, well, I missed the beginning. Catch me up.
Yeah.
And then they're going to move on. They're going to become a regular rider, and they don't need the class as much. So that's why I consider it sort of graduating class kind of thing.
Well, either way, starting in January. And so I'm trying to get this to as many different of our audiences as I can, because sometimes I don't know if it's echo chamber or what the situation
preaching to the choir right now. These are probably motorcycle riders. If you're watching this, so the chances are high.
So the point of this is, for me saying it here, just so I can get it over with, which is why I was trying to do it short, is tell your friends who are interested in riding that there will be a, no pressure. It's not the class. It's not taking your test. It's not anything technical. It's just informational and like getting to know other people who might be starting and stuff like that. So I have a Facebook event page for that where you can keep track of what dates have different topics. So if you already have your license, but you're not really sure how to decide what kind of rider you are, you may be waiting for the March class. Or the March class that I'm going to add soon is going to be about gearing up to go camping or long distance traveling. So you may already have your license, but you want to
gearing up. I like it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So I'm coinciding that with our gearing up for the season to like get literally geared up. What kind of gear do you need to get for the type of riding you want to do? So it's an informational series that is sequential. So you can start in January with not knowing anything, and you want to learn how to take the class, which I know that sounds dumb, but the number of times I've had to hold someone's hand through all of the steps of that.
You make it, when you say had to hold someone's hands, when I
took the class, I enjoy it. It's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, I took the class in Florida when I lived there, but if somebody, I always put it off, and what actually happened, this is kind of funny. I don't know if I ever told you this, but my girlfriend in Florida I lived with, she had a meeting at the house. Like, she had volunteered our house for like a all girls meeting.
Okay.
And it was for her, I think it was for like her sorority alumni. So they were like meeting in wherever. Anyway, so people were coming in to meet, and she was like, "You got to get out of the house." And I was like
goodbye.
You could be here, but it's all day meeting or whatever. And I was like, what am I going to do all day? And I was like, I've been wanting to do the motorcycle course, whatever. And so that was like the thing that kicked me over the edge.
Oh.
But I was like, because it's all day, and it was perfect. And I was like, I'm just out all day on the motorcycle course or whatever. And anyway, but I feel like most people, I think it's completely fair to just say, how many things do you and I say, I've been wanting to do that, meaning to do that, and you just need a little bump. So this is
all
what
of the 87 million hobbies.
Literally everything. So if you know some people that are doing it, or Nicole's not taking the class with you, but she'll walk you through it, and that's the idea there. Is that
what I meant is, I didn't mean the class itself. What I mean is, how many hands I've held through signing up for the class, getting your
I
template,
agree.
how complicated it is made for some reason.
It's run by the state.
Yeah.
It's going to be an annoying process.
And we are not talking about Motorcycle Ohio, the actual class. The class itself is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
The
website.
Getting to that
And the fact
part.
that and another thing that has been, we've been in meetings with these guys, big meetings, a lot of the dealers are there and all this stuff. I don't mean big, I mean large amount of people. And it's so hard. Everybody wants more classes because these things fill up.
Yes,
away.
That's literally why I have this starting in January, because it's the week before the class registration opens.
Yeah.
So in that time, if you're starting at completely zero or negative zero, you're like, I'm not even sure if I want to be a motorcycle rider or whatever. You have to get a temporary license, and someone may know that because their friend rides. But if you're like, I've never even considered going into motorcycling, I have no idea where to start. If you go to the website, it's buried in a paragraph halfway down the page, and there's no link to where you go to do that.
So sort of, I mean, it's like everything. You and I talk about this all the time. This is sort of an inside joke, but it's become like a meme or whatever. But like, if I'm going to a party, what are people wearing? And so if I'm showing up to this, should I bring
What's the parking
gear?
like?
Are you going to have gear?
Yeah.
Right. Do I need to know how to ride a motorcycle at all? Should I have never ridden a motorcycle? So there's so many questions that we're going to help answer. And it is a lot. It is a lot of information that for some people that have done it, or if you've done it years ago and you don't remember, it's just a process. There's a lot of steps. And we talked about this last time, but the reason I think this is definitely needed is because it's kind of crazy how many other activities. I mean, we talked about, like, if you're like, say you're going to get like a concealed carry license, which you don't really technically even need anymore, and you want to get into like guns for protection or something. There's steps, but there's so many steps here with the motorcycle license
from different departments that don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
They may on the back end, but on the I mean, you go to two different buildings to even get
right. And the car license is sort of a rite of passage. A lot of people go through this through school, and everybody does it at the same time. So it's different in the motorcycling thing, where it's not as guided, and we're helping to bridge that gap a little bit here.
And I also think that you might end up meeting someone at the meetup that you could take the class with, so you're not by yourself taking the class. You can sign up together.
Theoretically, yeah, they could all go through together.
Okay, so I'm gonna address some. Already liked your laugh track. Do not encourage it.
What's my other one?
The fire is actually
remember that one
is being received well.
Yeah, the cozy fire. It's not. No, it's totally real. Sorry,
It does.
Can I start over? It's real. Thank you.
That's totally real.
Thank you.
It does make heat. It's just not from the fire.
What are you saying? I just said it. I just said it was real. Don't tell them. They don't know that.
They do know.
They're very stupid.
You already messed up. This is live, by the way.
Rewind.
Okay, so Roland.
Take two.
Roland, as usual, makes a good point. Fleet building, hoarding, it's a fine line.
You know what I realized that is really messing with my OCD is Nicole, as I said, set all this stuff up, and she's like, I plug things in randomly or whatever. Your microphone is this one, and my microphone is this one, and they cross, and then our headphones are each. So it doesn't really matter, but it's like, how would I remember to? Years of doing like live sound has just said, like, you have to, you'll go crazy. Someone will be like, can I turn my microphone up? And you'll turn the wrong person up. And
the fact that I remotely figured out how to set this up is
I know, it's great. And it's
miracle.
working. I think it's working. All the lights are green and everything.
Yeah, no one said they can't hear us. So look, I did most of this myself, which is unusual, and don't like it.
You don't like setting it up?
I don't like, no, because it gives me a lot of stress.
Well, but that is why I would set up a rule in my head or whatever. This is helping my OCD. So it's like how I said, we talked about this with the mechanics or whatever. So like, I would never, like, what if a big thing that you would worry about being a mechanic is, oh, did I tighten that bolt? That guy's driving off. Are his brakes tight, or did I put the oil filter in? So one of my rules as a mechanic is never start a bolt without finishing, without tightening that bolt all the way. So if a bolt is in, it's tight. That's the thing that I try to do on this kind of thing. So this is another one of those rules where it's like, this side's plug always gets plugged in, etc. And then you you try to reduce some amount of anxiety in your brain, but it comes back when you hit the head hits the pillow and you go, wait a second, did I tighten that bolt?
Okay, I'm going to address a couple more things.
Can we talk about your sweater? Maybe you can't see it.
I was wondering if you were going to talk about my sweater.
Yeah, this is Nicole's holiday sweater. I said, don't you have like an ugly
Christmas sweater? It's not
Christmas
an ugly sweater.
No, I said that. I said, do you have an ugly Christmas sweater? And you said,
No,
I have a cool one with skulls.
It's my Christmas sweater.
So if you can't see that across the
It is also
top,
my Halloween sweater. So if you've ever heard my theory about The Nightmare Before Christmas, it is both a Halloween and Christmas movie. And so is my sweater.
It's a movie. Okay. So
anyway.
It moves.
Yes, that is what she said. I was...
About the bolt tight or whatever, finishing the bolt.
All the things.
Just, it doesn't matter. You can't
does matter.
You can't screw a thing that's tight without, that's what she's setting.
Sorry. Anyway, RD, can you expand on what you mean about it's more confusing to get into the bike line? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I'm not sure.
Maybe life?
And then somebody likes your red Canadian tuxedo.
Hello.
It's his most festive shirt. It is your flannel.
Is that a Canadian accent? Hello, governor.
It is absolutely not. That is absolutely not.
What would they say? Look at that caribou over there, eh? How about that caribou on the hoose?
Ronnie, who is very much complimenting your shirt that you've just offended, I'm assuming, because he also said, hello from Eastern Ontario. Ronnie C. I'm not sure who that is.
Oh, I thought the other Ronnie.
No.
I'm like, he's from Haiti.
That's not how you spell Ronnie's name.
Eastern Ontario. Well, sorry for offending you. You know that you say house funny.
House.
It's funny.
Like moose.
It is funny. Here I can tell.
No. Oh, God. Okay. Will we be adding other brands?
Who's asking? It doesn't really matter.
Brian Heffernan.
Oh, I've seen his name before. Hello, welcome back. I don't know. You can't really see. I guess you can't see any motorcycles on the screen now, but we're surrounded.
This is a motorcycle.
Oh yeah, that's a motorcycle. It's a '63 Interceptor, 1963. In case you were wondering,
it's a future edition.
It's a 63 cc's. So there's a lot of bikes, and Royal Enfield, those jerks, they keep adding all these motorcycles, and it's hard to keep them in here. You know, we only have one Scram, one Himalayan, and it's still packed. And so there's a lot more total bikes that we could have in here. I guess we're a little. The only thing that we have like more of than you would think is Super Meteors because it's winter and they're new and we bought a bunch of extra ones. But other than that, we would like to have more bikes of the current ones we have. Moto Guzzi is interesting because they're releasing a new bike and then a new color of a V7. So there's going to be a matte green. I don't know if it's actually matte green, but it's kind of an army green V7. And then there's a Stelvio, which is a whole new bike, which we're going to try to have at least two of those. We're low on V100. So my point is, to summarize, we don't have the room.
Just in case you're wondering, if you've never been here, our building is only 7,500 square feet.
It's funny to say only because when we first started, and this is insane, but we were functioning in like 2,000 square feet.
It was 2,300 square feet.
It was everything. It was storage. It was the shop.
Months.
It was parts. It was accessories. It was checkout and
at the time,
office.
we had one of every color of twins.
Which is insane because there's so many more bikes now. Anyway, would we add other brands? The short answer is yes. The long answer is no, because we don't have the space, and other things would have to change or happen, or we'd really have to get more picky about each whatever. Something that's interesting is I hope this doesn't come off as negative, but my dad was talking to another dealer who had a bunch of brands, and he was saying, "Oh, I don't know how you guys do it with just the two brands because we have all these other things." And in that same conversation, he said, "How are the Hunters doing for you?" And he said, "Oh, they're great or whatever. How are they doing for you?" And he says, "Well, we haven't bought any yet. We were still waiting to decide if we were going to bring in Hunters." Now, I think we've sold 20 Hunters this year. So that's 20 sales that guy didn't bring in or whatever, because he just was kind of waiting to see, because they have so many bikes. So say we brought in another brand right now, brand X or whatever, and then that means maybe we have to pull back on Super Meteors or something like that from Royal Enfield and not focus on them, or Moto Guzzi with all those changes happening, and that feels like a bit of a disservice to the customer. I definitely wouldn't want someone to come in and say, do you have any of that new bike from Royal Enfield? And we say, well, we're thinking about getting them, check back in a couple months. I don't like that. We get them as soon as we can.
I want to be able to say, yes, we have that, and I've ridden it.
Yeah, Nicole and I went to Dallas, Texas to ride the Super Meteor. We went to India and saw this 450 in the shotgun, and like we're in on it. We want you to think like if anyone's going to get them first or whatever, it's us, and we want to have them, and we want to be first in line, and we want to make sure you're first in line if you need to have one of those. So I don't know, another brand, especially with the amount of space we have, would distract from that. I think theoretically we could add another brand if we had some space. This building is kind of interesting. There is sort of another attached building, and we've talked about moving that direction. So if that happened, I think we'd be more likely to do that.
And I think that's about 3,500 square feet.
Yeah, so that
we were to take that over.
would certainly work. You could fit another of these type of brands, and another Royal Enfield would fit in there.
That was one of the things that I feel like we talked about a lot when we were in India. We went to the Garage Cafe and thought, from the first iteration of this company, we were like, oh, it'd be really cool to have a coffee shop. And now I'm thinking, even with that extra 3,500 square feet, I'm thinking we still wouldn't have room.
Yeah.
But I wanted to...
Oh, there's my alarm. We can lock the door.
Okay.
Do you want me to? Or you think it's not worth it?
I don't know.
Don't do it?
Don't do it.
Okay.
So... Artie asked me how my tattoo is healing because suddenly, I mean, it's been fine for 4 days, and suddenly it just started itching really bad.
Nicole is a badass, so she has skulls and tattoos, skulls on her shirts and tattoos. She just got a new octopus tattoo, which is very cool. You never see it right now because it's on the arm there.
Because it's on my arm. Yeah.
It's up high. I mean, if it was right here, you'd see it, no problem. Anyway.
But it just feels like I want to just like slap it.
You're in that like 3 days after the thing stage.
Arnie said you guys get around, and glad to see we're doing so well, and love your straight up reviews. So I think that's an interesting thing to transition into our renewed commitment to doing like YouTube content. Yeah,
we're gonna try to do more. I really think this year it was a hard year in a lot of ways, and we had a lot going on, and we're trying to get more back to it. And I have this idea, so hopefully you'll see it soon, called the Blip, which is a little bit of Throttle. You get it? Wait.
And are you saying it now so that no one can take the name?
No. I mean, there are other things called Blip. It's not like I've invented the word, but so I want to do it'll be like a little, because I guess we just sold it, but that Super Media that was over there that had all this stuff on it.
Yeah, that was one of the two that we sold
that'd be
today.
A perfect one to just like sit there and talk about, like, hey, here's all the cool accessories. It had handlebar risers, and I knew you do think handlebar risers on that bike just make a huge impact on it, just raising your shoulders up a little bit. It's great. A little bit more control. I just love it. And things like that. So just like a shorter, less involved video. The content that we typically make is either this kind of live stream or the in the loop. I guess we do the other sort of first impressions, which is a little bit more of a kind of the Blip style, one take, just kind of go for it. Here's the new bike that showed up. Let's go see what we think about it. In the loop, it's still one take. This is a theme. I hated editing. Editing makes it so that something has the potential to just sit there forever, where you're not sure you want to edit it. You know that more than anyone. So I
thought you were going to make a dig at the fact that I haven't edited a video.
I would never. I literally wouldn't. So,
but that's the truth.
But in the loop is riding the bike around our test track route, and I try to combine those words.
Did you say test track?
I try to combine those words. Anyway, so the Blip is sort of a in between, is to fill in just a little thing to talk about or whatever. And there's a lot of this news stuff that I think you don't, either there's too much rumors to sift through, or the information these days is so interesting. Both of our brands are like this, where Nicole's going to eat her leftover Thanksgiving candy. But so there's so much information to sort through, and this like global launch stuff. They'll launch a bike in India, and then it takes 9 months to get here. So we're trying to fill in that information, or kind of let you know what we know about when those bikes are coming and all that stuff. So those are the questions that people have asked the most. My dad always says this, but we've only been in business for 3.5 years. We spent more time as motorcycle customers, buyers, riders than dealers. So we don't know.
Tell me how you really feel.
We don't know how to do that. I know what customers think. I know what you want to know. I'm a Royal Enfield fan. I have a Moto Guzzi now, and I have a Royal Enfield, and I'm a fan of those bikes. I want to know what's coming from them. I want to know when the next Interceptor color is getting here. I want to know when the next 450 or the Himalayan 450, because I love the Himalayan.
It sounds a lot like you're saying we make content that we would like to see.
Yeah. Yes. And so yes, our honest reviews or whatever are 100% because of that. And that's the thing we want to see. And that's how we are. And that's how I wish everyone was. But I can't change them. I can change me.
So speaking of content creation, Flat Cap Cafe Racer,
who I'll be seeing in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yes, said I'd like to do a short video with you at Mecum, commenting on a bike of your choice. So that would be an excellent time, because we will be you will be covering Mecum.
Yeah, I don't know how he feels about that, but Mecum's tricky, right? Because if we talk about a bike, the scary thing is, if I'm really going to buy a bike, which last year we said we weren't going to buy any, and we bought like 6 or something. And so if I say if I sit there, and it's almost like we have this local group, and if I post a bike on there, it's already me saying like, I don't want it because I'm not going to buy this. I don't want to post a thing and then compete with it. So it is kind of one of those funny things where if we made a video and then it's like, well, what if I said, this CB750 is a great bike, look how great it is, and then the bidding goes up. I've just invited a bunch of people to bid about it. I want to keep it a secret or whatever. So we'll pick something, and there's
at least until you've already won the bid, and then because you've done that.
Yeah, well, I'd love to
before.
do that. If we already bought something, I'd love to tell you why I bought it and why I'm excited about it or whatever. There's always some surprise Royal Enfields that kind of go under the radar. Last year, we were pretty close to buying this Bullet, and then we let it go. And actually, it was kind of a weird one where I accidentally put an extra bid in. Basically, what happens is, it's rapid fire. This, 2,500, 3,500, whatever. And I had tried to put in my bid for whatever that guy had said, 3,000. And I said, yeah, 3,000. And they said 3,000, 4,000. I was like, oh, I kind of didn't want 4,000. And then he did 5, and I was like, oh, lucky. So then I went and talked to the guy, and he was from JRC Engineering. And I was like, oh, I bought stuff from you. And I'm from Throttle Company. He said, oh, I know about Throttle Company. So it was cool to meet the guy and stuff. And so Royal Enfield buyers, long story short, there aren't that many of them. And so there'll always be a couple of those in there. There's a bunch of Moto Guzzis this time. I think Moto Guzzi is doing a good job kind of re-entering the landscape of obviously people have already kind of always known about it a little bit, but I do think more people are interested in getting a vintage Moto Guzzi. So there's definitely some bikes there, some vintage Moto Guzzis that I think are gorgeous and certainly worth talking about. Those are just 2 initially right off the bat that I have in my mind, but there's almost 1,500 bikes or something. We'll have plenty to talk about. Yeah,
sorry, I am just crazy distracted by the number of emergency vehicles going by our building right now.
It's just an emergency. How bad could it be? I don't know. If it burns down or whatever, if you see a fire or whatever, you just say something. Then we'll stop. We'll think about stopping.
He said my video.
We'll do our Midwestern goodbye. Oh, I forgot I was going to get a graphic for that. Next time we'll get a graphic for the Midwestern goodbye. It says like whelp big across the screen and slap in the legs.
He said my video won't come out until after the event.
I know. So I kind of thought that too. Well, I don't know how quick you are with the editing or whatever, but anyway, you get it. We'll do something about something or whatever there. God, there's so many. That's what I'm willing to commit to. We'll do something about something.
Related to motorcycles.
There's so many. Well, I'm not even sure I want to commit to that. Anyway, just we'll do it about the burgers or whatever in the cafe. So anyway, I'm excited. I'm super excited about Mecum, and and then all the bikes there. I mean, there's just so many beautiful bikes, and you can't even pay attention to all of them. So every time you're like, where did this one come from, and whatever, there's just so many. And all that stuff is available online. If anyone's interested in that kind of vintage stuff, you could watch it online live, but also, and of course, bid on it. But you can see, I'd say 90% of the auction stuff is up now. They call them lots, but you can view all the lots right now. There's lots of them. Nailed it.
I don't want to ever hear that anyone who's watching chuckled at that, laughed at that. Nothing.
Actually, doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
I thought it was great. Why do you hit the buttons? Is it because you don't have them? You want buttons next time? I could give you buttons.
I don't want buttons.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe you should try it.
We're getting offers for editing if there's ever that request by Curly Wolf.
Oh, really? This is my recurring alarm from earlier when I said I was going to set up the lock the door. Well, that would be cool.
Ryan,
I don't want to give someone else a bunch of work.
You're in trouble. You aren't allowed to laugh.
I don't want to give someone else some work. But basically, Nicole, I mean, this is how it goes with videos, and he does videos too, so he knows. But basically, I feel very strongly about this, especially if you're busy and you got a lot of other stuff going on. Now, if you said, I'm going to do a YouTube channel and that's going to be my whole job or whatever, then you got some different priorities, and you can take the time to like sit down, write a video, edit it, that kind of thing, and make a highly produced kind of video. But for me, I feel like the more sort of barriers there are to getting this video like out and published and done, the more times you can get hung up. And you experience this exactly, where you shoot a video and it was, it's great, and you got all this footage, or maybe one thing goes wrong. That's what happened to my last one. The sound messed up halfway through, and that just throws my whole thing off. I don't want to have to go home and try to do a voiceover or fix it or whatever. So then one or two more of those things, and you got other videos going on, and you got other work you're doing, and it just gets in the way, and you doesn't wind up getting done.
My lack of technological prowess is number one, but you are currently benefiting from my one-time.
Yeah, the only thing, one tip is that I would switch these colors. That's it. That's literally it.
But then the other is, I will start to watch back my video and I am so boring.
Well,
why am I talking? It's a good like visual video. Yeah. Just put some good music to it, have good cuts, whatever. But whatever I thought I had to say means it's
Let's
nothing.
say this in a more constructive way, is that basically you look at it and you think, this will take more work to make it up to my quality standards, and that's another hurdle on why it might not get done. That's why when I do in the loop, I just push play, I do a 12-15 minute ride or whatever, I come back, I push stop. It is what it is. If it was bad, I guess maybe I wouldn't put it out there. I've had ones where the sound has gone bad, or the GoPro messed up or something, and I don't try to salvage it or whatever. You just, okay, film another one. But the fact that then requires almost no editing, I will cut out a little intro, and then I'll add my actual riding bikes intro. But then that's it. And the less amount of those hurdles I can put in my way, the more likely that video is to get to people's eyeballs. And that's the only thing. And that's how I intend to do the blip as well, is that, hey, it's Dylan, let's talk about this thing quickly. Well, it's not too much of a editing burden.
Yeah. There's a kind of a unique question that isn't.
I love unique questions.
Isn't really the topic that we've been talking about.
Please.
It's more of a forward-thinking question, and it's interesting because I'm currently working on the 2024 calendar for Throttle Company, and there is the
Start with January.
What?
Start with January. I like when a year starts with January. That wasn't even that good?
No.
What if people laughed at me? That sounds better.
There's something wrong with you.
I don't know what the other ones do.
Ryan already said the loops work good, so I think that. I mean, what I like about, first of all, I will come back to that question, but the thing I like about in the loop is that it's something that I haven't been able to figure out for my own content, is the variables have been reduced on the in the loop.
That's kind of exactly what I mean.
So you have a predestined route. So you're not like
I don't have to think of exciting
right. You don't have to think about how can I make this look cool. it's literally the name of it is in the loop. It is our test ride loop. So your expectations of will this be visually interesting is replicatable. Like the point of it is that you're doing the same route every time with a different bike, different information, same viewpoint. Just you can just run them all after each other and just look at the different bikes. That is a formula that I have not figured out, because all of mine are just long distance rides.
Yeah.
And so it's like I really need to tell a story, and I need to make it look logical.
There's more onus on you to create, to come up with something creative. And that's why, yes, the only negative feedback I ever get on the loop, well, first of all, there's plenty of negative feedback. It's YouTube, but
the relevant negative feedback.
The only like constructive or sort of whatever criticism is not showing the bike enough, or the last one, the super meteor is a very interesting color. That green over there, the astral green, is just super meteor in the video. It mostly looks black. It kind of has to be like direct sunlight and then it looks green, but mostly it looks black. Even inside, like right now, I'm looking at it as black.
We've almost figured that out though when we do like our first look things, is that while you're speaking, I am filming the feature of what you're
that bike,
about.
Someone was like, "Oh, you should have put it in the sunlight," and I'm like, I get it."
But you can see that on the first look for that bike.
That's not the point of that video. That point of the video is what is it like to ride, not what does it look like. Because you can find video, and what does it look like? I'm not saying it's not relevant, and I do wish I could kind of show that a little bit more in a way that didn't detract from the whole point and add hurdles. But it's what is it like to ride X bike rather than what is it like?
This actually ties back into the interesting question, the forward-thinking question.
Go for it.
Saying that I couldn't...
Did you actually say the forward-thinking question yet?
I haven't said the question yet, but I have porpoised it.
What is porpoised?
I said the information above the water. I'm underneath the water mulling about the answer.
Wait
and I'll
a
come back
second.
up later while I'm talking about something
Nicole's
else.
famous for her metaphors. I don't know if this is one of them or not. Did someone else come up with this?
Yes.
Porpoise? Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
It'll make sense. What I'm mulling under the water will make sense when I come back up for air. I promise.
What a tease.
Two things. One, Artie said he really liked Warrior, me. If you don't know who I am on the internet, it's Road Warrior Moto. And he said that I liked Warrior camping. And the thing is if I could do that every single weekend and I would have a video every single weekend. And
you mean it feels like
that
same
feels
video.
like content I want. No. I don't think it.
I agree.
Let me see what's the.
I was gonna say no.
What's the farthest campground I can get to in a day?
Or just how to do it. I just think that even watching you one time go and camp isn't necessarily enough for me to be like, okay, I could do it. Even though this is funny because you caught me doing this. But remember when I was getting ready to go camping?
Yeah.
I was watching your video and writing notes. Oh, she'd use this tent or whatever. And I was doing, and I basically bought all the stuff you used in the video, which is funny because you are constantly improving, which is why I was trying to tell Brandon was walking around here somewhere too. I was trying to tell Brandon because he went on this cross-country trip with the Himalayan. And I was like, I'm telling you, just blindly trust what Nicole says as far as the gear, because she has fretted about it. She has road worried about it. She has tested. She has, if it wasn't good, if she took it out the one time and it was like, oh, this chair actually sucks, she would have replaced it by now. So whatever she's currently using, you can just trust like gospel, because it's been thought about more than you will ever think about.
Or I have exposed myself to enough people. Gaiety. That have experienced negative things. Like, for example, I always carry an extra blanket, even if I don't need it, because my gear is very warm, but I carry an extra blanket in case someone was not prepared to go camping and they need...
Well, I think people underestimate that. It's 50 degrees today during the day and you think, oh, no problem, but it's going to get 20s tonight or something. It's like you don't think about being outside at night all night, and the fire will go down eventually. Yeah, so that's what I meant. And so your videos are that way too. If you literally just did an update on your gear, that would be helpful to me.
Oh yeah, so my helpful to you. I thought you were going somewhere.
Send me that?
I thought you were going somewhere else with that comment. I thought you were saying might be helpful to your viewers. Like, no, helpful to me.
Oh, well, I don't actually care about them. Those are your viewers. I don't care about them. No, I'm joking, but that is how good videos are made. We all know this, and I think someone had said that about the however they said it, honest, straightforward, whatever they had called the kind of content that you and I think about content a lot in YouTube videos, and why this guy is, I don't know, unappealing and this guy is more appealing. Yeah, is the fact that things like that, you can tell when someone's making content because they think they need a video out this week or whatever. They haven't done a video in a while. And we don't do videos like that. We want to do a video. And that's what I'm saying is that that's why I'm saying it as a person who would just utilize that content. Please go make a video that says what you've, since the last time you've informed people about your camping loadout. Please just say what works and what doesn't work and what you're currently using, because that's not making a video just to make a video. I think people would love it.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that the thing I have not upgraded and have no plans to upgrade is my camp chair.
Yeah, no.
And that's the example that you used.
Because I know it's a good one. I know you thought about it. Yeah. It's a solid chair.
It is a solid $30 chair that packs down really small. Anyway.
Okay, go back to the porpoise.
Porpoising.
Okay.
So Artie liked camp, which is funny because Artie is a very efficient camper. I liked all of his stuff too.
Yeah, we went camping.
Ryan said I can drop off all my bikes off and you can do a daily rider style videos on the loop on all of them. So here's the thing is I have teased and somewhat done a little Nicole Will Ride It series.
That was something else I was thinking about. And I don't, it's not stepping on my toes or being redundant or whatever. If you just do the loop.
Because I'm not going to give you technical specs.
No. What's it like to ride it? That's fine.
I'm going to be like, this is fun to ride.
Yeah.
This is not a bike I've ever owned, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Did I almost wheelie it? Maybe. Don't do that, but it'll be on camera when I do.
Yeah.
Or when I lose in the same ride with Ryan, lose my phone on the road, and this is why
Did you do that? I don't think I remember that.
I did, yeah. So
Fell out of your pocket?
Yes, because I was taking a video of Ryan. He was riding, I think, the Scram, and I was riding his something supermoto. Mm-hmm. And he even said, don't go over a certain mile per hour at a certain rev or some RPMs of something.
Yeah.
Because you might.
I was like, what?
I was like, I didn't hear you. And we got to the stoplight, and he was like, did you mean to do that? And I was like, oh, you saw that, huh? He's like, yeah, I saw that. And I was like, okay, so let's take a video. And I took a little video at the intersection. I put my phone back in my pocket and realized that the slit pockets.
Yeah.
I was going too fast. It's definitely the speed limit. And my phone flew out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it hit him or his bike or whatever, but he's like honking and like
That's
trying
shocking.
to get my attention.
I can't believe it didn't. It's the same phone. It's not smashed to bits.
I don't tell you all the things that happen when I'm out riding bikes.
It's a whole life you live.
But essentially, I almost did a wheelie on the loop and lost my phone in the process. And Ryan's like, did you intend to do that? I mean, I told you what not to do. I was like, I didn't
You did exactly what I said not to do.
I just wanted to see if it would work.
Can you porpoise on back to the interesting question?
Yes. The interesting question is that, so if you are unfamiliar, I and quite a few women go to Babes Ride Out in New York. And there has been some... I'm never going to say... I don't know what
you're going to say, so
I'm never going to say anything like super negative, but I have just...
Since when? I'm just joking.
About
just
bro.
Joking. I'm just joking.
About Babes Ride Out. But that I don't know how to explain this without like totally sounding bad. But there were people who are a little dissatisfied it's for different reasons about bro, whether it's the distance to cost or...
You mean people from here? It doesn't.
People from places.
We're going to talk about people from places. They're going to know. If you're from a place, you know.
I don't want to call them out, but
no, I don't either. I'm joking.
Several of my friends from different places had varying degrees of satisfaction.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Or
it's fine. It's completely fine. You're making it a bigger deal than it is.
Anyway, the real question is there a potential for Throttle Company to host an event similar to what Bro is trying to achieve? And
You talking about Mini Bro?
Mini bro.
That's my idea for a while has been mini bro, which that's the working title, obviously. That's not the public title.
Again, if you are unfamiliar, we did host our first super secret camp out in the fall. And
RD was there camping.
Yeah. And the premise was that I literally kind of handpicked who I wanted to be there. So
there was a very limited window. Well, we really didn't. We were worried about how much space to get or whatever. So we had 30 people's worth of space.
I wasn't worried about the space so much as worried about falling on my face about planning an event that big and being responsible for that many people. There were 30 people.
Yeah.
And we had the capacity probably for 60. But I was very worried about planning an event and getting the details right, and everyone having a terrible time. But everyone enjoyed tie-dyeing their shirt. I'm just going to say that. That's the context of...
But you and I, this is what makes you good and me help to you on events is we have opinions. When we go to an event, we talk about what could have been done better, what should have been done better, what can you believe they didn't. Like... This is, for example, one time we went to a what's that called, demo days, and it was a free for all. It was Nicole was actually seriously considering one of these motorcycles, and they were just like, "Okay, the bikes are here, go," and
I had to fight. I had to fight
go?
for a spot on a bike, and despite clearly the group having been
and if you've ever been to these demo days, there's some sport bikes, there's some cruisers. You know, every manufacturer seems to make like a variety of bikes. So some of them we're not interested in. She's interested in this one very specific bike. There was like 2 or 3 of them there, and every time these younger kids who you just could tell had no interest in actually purchasing. They didn't care. They were just going to ride whatever.
We call those professional test riders,
yeah,
which isn't a problem.
They just came in and jumped in line. Basically, there was no line because it was just for free for all. I hated it, and so then we said, well, when we do a demo day, we're not going to do that, and that's why our events, I think, go off pretty well because we've gone to other things and we keep track of those negative experiences, and we at least learn from other people what not to do. And the camp out was sort of that way too, where you and I have gone through a lot of things. You especially have gone to these camp outs, and you know, so what to do and what not to do. And I don't think we could have gotten 200 people, but if 200 people would have shown up to the first one, it could have been pretty overwhelming for,
the logistics
for us.
Need to be, in my experience, logistics like that for that number of people need to be experienced rather than just told. Like if somebody who's used to planning an event that's 200 people big and just they said, do this, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. I would want to experience
how much food do you get?
Yeah, like I want to experience what the logistics really need to be and scale up from there.
Totally.
Rather than just follow someone's timeline for that.
I agree. So,
the point I was going to say is that this, to the person who asked this question, we are trying to do what I think Bro was trying to achieve. But I don't want to say that I'm saying Bro isn't good. It is just something different than some people are looking for. In the same way that the Himalayan 411 is one thing. It's good for what it is. The 450 is going to be good for what it is. And they might have started as one thing and grown to be another thing, but the people who really liked the way it was are going to be dissatisfied with the way it's grown into something else.
Oh, now I get what you're saying.
So for me, the way I want our events, there's a bunch of people in the comments that are talking about how they loved doing the tie-dye. You can't do that. You can't do that on a scale of 700 people.
Probably not.
So the fact that I handmade the routes for the group, and I'm going to go ahead and toot my own horn on this one, is that several of our attendees / our friends got the route map tattooed on them. Yeah. And that is a thing that you can only get in like a grassroots size group.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the plans for the future, forward thinking or unique, if that's, you have actually fully asked the question, right? Do we plan on doing something like Bro is the official question? The
official question is, is there potential for Throttle Company to host an event similar to what Bro is trying to achieve?
Interesting.
That's why my answer to that question is not yes. It's we are trying to achieve something different.
Or sort of what we feel like they're trying to achieve or what they should be trying to achieve, I guess. It's funny because there's just, at least for me, which I've never been to, but there's just zero negativity towards Bro. I think Bro is its
Yeah,
own thing, and
it's its own
incredible.
thing, and that's
a
the
lot of
thing.
oh my god, a lot of work. People talk about this, like the Arnold Classic is one of those big things that happens here in Columbus. That's literally people's full-time jobs. They work 12 months a year to do a one weekend event, and you have no idea unless you've done an event on a scale. I haven't done an event on that scale, but if you've done an event of a larger scale, or if you've ever regularly done events where people come and you're trying to have them all have a good time and everyone get along and do it safely and all those things, it's just a lot of work. And anyway, so moving forward into the future, into the 2024, we want to have something in the spring. I don't think I'm being too specific or too general, but we want to have something in the spring and something in the fall. The last one was in the fall, and it worked out. Oh my God, the weather! It literally could not have been.
Oh my God, the weather!
More perfect.
Sweater weather.
It was so nice, and the weather was perfect. So we'll try to do something like that kind of thing again, and then maybe something in the spring that are camp out like. In addition, the Mini Bro concept, as far as I fleshed it out, is basically a not camp out. It is we go to a park where you can rent or whatever, we reserve one of those like areas where they have volleyball and
like
they have a pavilion,
a group shelter.
And what I would love to do, this is my brainstorming dream, is I would love to, Throttle Company goes, we bring some bikes for demos. I don't know how we're going to get enough there that actually makes an impact, but
our friends.
Yeah, we'll try to bring some bikes out there. It'll be somewhere kind of close to here, but enough out that the riding's good, and out of the city, I mean. And so we'll go to one of these campgrounds, pavilions, or whatever. Set up, cook out. So me, my dad, whoever from Throttle Company, obviously Nicole, will be there, and we'll cook burgers, cook brats, cook hot dogs, and whatever my vegetarian version of that.
Say, that's a lot of.
I know.
Like,
all I care about
meat.
is the meat. So we will be doing that kind of thing. So it'll be a big picnic, basically. Bring food, whatever. But you show up on your bike. Then we will have suggested routes, just like we did at the Super Secret Campout. Suggested routes. Here's some routes. Here's the area we are. Here's known routes that maybe we didn't design, but here's some things that we suggest. And then you basically, people, and this happened perfectly at the Super Secret Campout. People broke into groups. They maybe don't know them. Some people, I know 2 people, but I don't know this guy and whatever. And they just rode as a group, and it worked out perfectly. And a good group size is, sort of 4 to 8, somewhere in there. Anything more than like 10, and you start to get like, wait, where did that last guy go? I don't know. He'd missed the turn or whatever. So that gets a little crazy. So especially if you don't know the area. So we're gonna suggest that kind of thing. If you show up, eat some burgers, and then we're the home base, and then you go out, ride for an hour or whatever, and come back, play some volleyball, meet, socialize, maybe go on one other ride or whatever. But it's not, then when it gets dark or whatever, we might hang out for a little bit, but we're not spending the night at this place. It's a one-day thing. It's not for camping kind of thing. That's why it's Mini Bro, because it's not the full-on kind of
Mini
camping.
Bro TM.
Yeah.
But Roland says Throttle Jamboree.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. Jamboree kind of thing. I think that I don't know technically.
I want to call it something like day camp or something like, so this is a one-day thing. You're not necessarily
Picnic's probably not a bad.
You're not paying to attend this thing necessarily.
Show up, eat some food, maybe test ride a bike or whatever. Go on one of these.
It's a barn raising. Just come on down for the day.
We wouldn't do this anyway, but there are interesting rules about selling bikes off site, so we would never, not that we would do that, but just hang out and do another kind of event like that. And that was one of the feedbacks that we got from, that I think is pretty legitimate, from the Super Secret Campout, is some people had said, what if I don't want to camp? What if I don't have the time or the interest? Can I meet you out there and do it? Which we absolutely could have done that.
Yeah, but it was an hour plus away from Columbus, so for a lot of people that was kind of far.
But yeah, but certainly in the future we would be open to that, because that was, remind me again when it was. It was Saturday night and Sunday night.
Yeah,
we spent the night 2 nights.
It was Friday and Saturday night.
Wow, that seems longer than it was, because it went so fast. I guess you're right. So Saturday was the main like riding day.
It just flew by.
Meet there Friday afternoon, and Saturday was the main riding day, and then leave Sunday. So that's true. That's true. That's how that one was. But we certainly could have met at the gas station at 10 a.m. on Saturday or something like that. You could have just said, meet me here, we'll go riding or whatever, and you don't have to camp, and you could come back and eat lunch.
Interestingly, the response I have to all the things you just explained is that the short answer to that question is yes.
Yeah.
We plan to have some, I wanted to be aggressive with my answer, but I can't say that here, but we will have events. Like I said, I'm already working on pretty much the entire year is my plan, and we will have multiple meetup series, our regular Kickstands and Coffee on Saturdays, bike night second Friday of the month, April through October. All of those things are staying pretty consistent, but we're going to have more like day events, more, and 2 campouts essentially.
At least.
At
yeah.
least.
And it's just funny because it seems like a lot to commit to, and man, the year goes by fast. But this is the mode that you and I are both in. That Super Secret Camp On is exactly the kind of motorcycle life I want to be living.
Yeah.
I think you're the same way. After we went
You think?
there,
What would make you think that?
I don't want to speak for you is all I meant. So you have your own life. I don't want to speak for you. But I think we're both sort of in that same mode where, and after we went to the Super Secret Camp Out, which was in the Hocking Hills, I went to the Hocking Hills like 4 times after that, riding and planning routes. And
how many
area
times prior to that camp out had you motorcycle camped?
Once. But you're right. And I've done a lot of camping, and I've been at Hocking Hills a lot, but combining the two is just magic. It's funny about my friend has a cabin right in that area. It's actually one road off of where we were. And, the Goose Creek Road, and then his cabin is like right there. And Goose Creek Road is an incredible road. They've repaved that whole area, and you're just, as the name implies, you're following this creek. Beautiful road. The pavement on it is awesome. I mean, it's literally what you search for when you're looking for a great road to ride, whether you're looking at the map or whatever. It's
Is it like the road that we did for the cider run? Well, direction there.
Yeah. And I can't remember the name of that road. I kept trying to look it up later. We'll think about it, but yeah, Nicole found this magic road. But and you thought of it because I said looking at the map, because that's how you found that one. But anyway, this road, and so I've been there a lot of times in a car and camping, and we drive out there and camp out of a car, like you sort of normally do, without the motorcycle part. And you take the main roads. The funny thing is that all these roads are roads I never turned down because it looked uncomfortable in a car. A winding road in a car.
A lot of those county roads aren't wide enough for 2 cars to be going opposite directions.
Yeah.
And you have to single file in a motorcycle group even on some of those. And it's like, this is someone's commute.
This is a funny slight tangent, but my grandparents' house in North Carolina is like this. They're the one exit that you get off that goes right to their house. It's in the mountains. It's on on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina. And if you take the wrong exit, that on the road signs looks like the right exit for them, you actually go past it because it's more of a main road or direct route. But they're boring roads. They're main roads. But if you take the other road, the other exit, it makes you sick in a car. But it'd be the exact way you'd want to go on a motorcycle. You would all these turns and switchbacks, and it's slow. And in a car, you're like, oh my God, can we pull over? I'm gonna throw up. It's horrible.
So I have an interesting pivot.
Yeah.
That somebody asked but deleted.
The pivot and the porpoise. You could delete your chat.
I guess so. I actually didn't.
One of our mods got them. I don't know. Joking. We don't have mods.
We don't have
Nicole's
mods.
Doing it right now.
I'm doing the extent of our production, which is reading the comments on my phone.
Yeah.
But they asked what are our daily riders. And I think that's an interesting thing because when we were talking to our Royal Enfield rep earlier today.
What we ride.
What we ride.
Oh, okay.
Because we talked about what... Well, I have talked about this before, but you also recently talked about the Super Meteor specifically being a perfect bike for the Hocking Hills, which is if you're not familiar with the region that we are in, we are just north of an area. We're central Ohio, and if you're not familiar with Ohio, just south of us is Hocking Hills, which is some unglaciated
area. A little
area
east as well, southeast.
But the same straight south would also be the same. So anywhere that's south of Columbus, essentially, and is like the middle of the state and east is pretty curvy and there is some elevation change. It's not.
Oh, because you were talking about your science class, the glaciated area.
Yes. So everything north of here, sorry, Jason, I don't know how you managed to survive living in the flattest right angle turned area in Ohio.
Yeah.
But
and even Columbus is dead flat. You have to go south.
But we have like some precious curves.
you gotta go to them though.
Like if anyone were asking, Nicole, why do you always pick going up 33 or
Riverside Drive? Oh, yeah. Well,
because
you
I'd
need
like
something else like the river.
I'd like to lean a little on my bike, just a tad bit. So the question is what are our daily riders? And I think that's important question for which bikes are good for Hocking Hill specifically, because I have ridden. Let's see. So far now I've ridden my lowrider, my Himalayan, and a V7 and the Super Meteor, all in the Hocking Hills, 4 different bikes. I don't think I ever took the Sportster down there, but I have ridden big bike, ADV bike, naked upright bike, and now the very lovely cruiser Super Meteor 650. The lowrider does not like those super tight turns and a lot of the elevation changes and blind curves and all that.
The lowrider is a bit sporty, but it's a 700-pound Harley.
Yes.
With a giant engine. What did you say it was? 18
It's 1868. Insane. So when I was riding to Bro this past year, by the way,
3 Super Meteors.
I went down through
You were saying something else?
I went down through Hocking Hills to Athens to the Ohio River and rode up along the Ohio River and then did...
When did you do this?
This was on the way to Bro.
Oh, okay.
I took an extra day.
Yeah. Instead
of leaving on Thursday with the group, I left Wednesday. And then, this is a total sidebar, but completely, absolutely lost in the middle of Pennsylvania and ran into Meg and Cheryl at an intersection.
I know.
We were meaning to meet later that night, like 5 hours later.
Yeah.
They were lost. I was lost. I was literally turning around to go like perpendicular to the road I'd just come off to turn back. And I saw them pass me at the intersection. And I was like, I cut off somebody to get to the right lane.
I hope they know where they're going.
No. Cheryl, we love you. And Roland, you can absolutely tell her I said this. No. The problem is that Cheryl is very literal on the directions. But she kicked that. She has a V85. She kicked that bike's ass for the.
Cheryl's bought 3 bikes from us, which is the record, right? No one's ever bought 4, have they?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But so that's tied. There are some people that have bought 3, but which is insane, by the way. That's completely crazy to think about the amount of whether it's support for us or we just happen to have the bikes you like. Or she bought a vintage bike. She bought the trifecta: a vintage bike, a Royal Enfield, and a Moto Guzzi.
Yeah.
And then she bought that V85 right before going on that trip. But that is that level of support. Nicole and I think about all the time, and we try not to cry when we talk about it. But it's huge. It means a lot to us.
Well, it helped me identify the 2 of them because Cheryl's helmet has a giant Lita sticker on it.
And Meg was on your bike.
And Meg was on my bike. So I recognized Cheryl's helmet and then her custom sissy bar that Roland made her. And then my bike right after it. And it's like, there's no way that combination is anyone else.
The 85s are pretty rare, but also with the Sportster that you know.
Yes, it's improbable.
Yeah.
But it couldn't be anyone else.
Yeah.
So I started following them and I got closer. I was like, I recognize that luggage because interestingly, she had, I think, Gina's luggage that she was borrowing on my bike.
Meg, get your own stuff. What a mooch.
Well, last year she rode the GT.
She rode the GT 650.
So I'm going to give her some credit.
On the highway, in the rain, that's in the camping. That's
absolute
crazy.
Rain. Yeah. And it only sprinkled. So Cheryl and I, if we ride together, it's going to rain. Sorry, but that's just how it's going to be.
So ride separate then. You worked it out.
Well, this most recent ride that we rode together, it didn't rain until the very, there was like 4 sprinkles on my...
That doesn't count.
That does count. It technically rained.
Okay.
But anyway, the real question is, what is our daily rider? That was the whole point of this whole
Well, you
thing.
already mentioned it. So you have Lowrider S, Sportster, 2006 Sportster, and a Himalayan, which no one can know what year it is, but it's 22.
22 could be 20. I don't know.
25.
Either way, the interesting thing is that I'm probably selling the Sportster for a Super Meteor.
Yeah, if you could just check the box on a computer or whatever, you would swap those out. But there's some stuff that needs done, and it's winter, not a great time to sell a bike, despite the fact that we sold 2 today. But it's so the Sportster, you would like to sell that Sportster, which is a solid bike. It has been great, and you've gone on multiple 1,000-mile trips on it, and get the Super Meteor, because the Super Meteor is just a fantastic motorcycle. I love it so much. I love it so much more than I even thought I would, because I'm not, on paper, a cruiser guy. I know you definitely are a cruiser guy.
I am a cruiser guy, a Dyna bro, if you will.
That's true, and I like them, and I love your Lowrider S. You know, that Lowrider S is like just one of the few like perfect motorcycles.
Which is interesting because you skirted around what bike I was considering at that bike demo day.
It was an Indian Chief, which I really like.
I really liked it.
I especially, I got this soft spot. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think it's one of the Wolverine movies, but now I get them all confused. Wolverine's like my favorite superhero, and this is way before. This is so funny. As a kid, maybe a lot of people who are my age can relate to this, but man, when I was little, comic books were so cool, and they had the cartoon for X-Men, but I always thought, man, they should make a movie. Now, I got careful what you wish for, right? There's too many, and I've lost track of all of them, and Daredevil and all these things. But Wolverine got out of the Weapon X thing, and then was like, he went to that farm, and they had a motorcycle, and he like went flying it. But Wolverine's famously like heavy because he's filled with metal, and so his bones are made of metal. So he like he sunk the bike down. Anyway, that classic, I think it's a classic Harley. That's what the Indian Chief with the bags and the windscreen looked like to me, and I always thought, oh, that's so cool. I thought, sort of if you just won the lottery and you could just pick out any bike, I thought you could just buy that, and that would be a cool bike to have as your like kind of retro cruiser, long distance touring kind of bike. I like that, and you were way into it for a while. You probably couldn't get over the name Indian.
I have a hard time with the name.
It's a cultural appropriation. It's not. I mean, even the Cleveland Indians are now called the Cleveland Guardians. Even since you were shopping for that has happened. So it's definitely a thing happening. And so anyway, that was the bike we were looking at testing, and you eventually did ride it. We rode sort of every variant, and it helped form the opinion, but it didn't. Eventually, you went with the Lowrider S. Plus, my dad had one, and he was selling it. And
there were a lot of
stars
reasons
aligned.
I ended up with the Lowrider S.
It's great.
I was almost going to fly to Florida to visit my friend Anna.
There was one
because there was one that was mispriced on the internet for the price I ended up paying for the used one I bought from your dad.
So it worked out. Mine, sorry to interrupt you there, because I thought we should at least answer the question, but my daily bike, if you will, this is funny because we're not, in some sense, it's a good question to ask us, like I would think that too. Like if you think like, okay, a professional rock star, what guitar does he play? Like that's, your own gear. If you could choose anything and you're a professional, what would you choose? So that is relevant. And I do get why it matters. But you and I both know that like there's a V100 over there and a V7 and an Interceptor that are all the demo bikes that we own, Throttle Company owns, and we are the owners. And so if I wanted to take that Interceptor home, I could. And that's the interesting thing is I personally put 500 miles on that Super Meteor. I don't have to own a Super Meteor. So it is a little...
I do.
No, I know. I mean, I do think that I might need to own, but I don't have to put 500 miles on the weekend. I don't need to own one. Is what I mean that literally. It doesn't have to be in my name. So... it's a bit of the question is definitely relevant, and I do find it interesting, but it is also a bit misleading of what we actually have decided to purchase and make payments on, or whatever you wind up doing for your financing and stuff like that. Is that what does Dylan need to own? I have an Interceptor. It's on YouTube of sort of the build up through it. I'd love to do a revisit of, you know, what's its current status, kind of in the same way, Nicole, I was encouraging her to do the camping supplies one. Where's the bike at now? But I've got 3,000 miles on this Interceptor with knobby tires. We led a Hocking Hills ride. You need one of these?
I'm sorry. Here's the thing.
A pause break. What?
I mentioned once in this so far that I'm selling the Sportster.
You've got offers?
Do you want to know who just texted me?
No, who is it?
Ryan.
I mean, I do want to know. What? Ryan already had it. You had a Sportster. He's so funny. Ryan, I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while. Anyway, so where I was, my daily bike, my I own it, in Dylan's name in Dylan's name we pray, is the Interceptor. Yeah. So it's got knobby tires. I just did a ride to the Hocking Hills on it. It's great, handles great. I've got videos on it here. It has leather bags on it and kind of a rear rack situation. It has taller shocks and just little details here and there. It has a yellow headlight, which is nice because you can always spot me in a crowd.
It is very nice. Yes, when I'm leading a group ride, it's nice because then I can, if I don't see a yellow headlight, I am missing someone.
I'm the back guy.
And it isn't necessarily you, it's anyone in front of you.
So I didn't put that yellow headlight. I actually bought it used. How funny is that? We have the shop and we buy new bikes all the time, but a guy traded it in.
You had 100 miles on it?
300. He came in for a service and he said, you know what? It's not the bike for me or whatever. So I said, it's a bike for me. Basically, I had not bought that bike because he wanted it. I put my name on it and he said.
That happened to both of us independently several times.
Yeah. And it was the Baker Express. We only had one. It was hard to get at the time. It's a white Interceptor. And I was like, I want this one. This one's mine. And then he came in and Tony, I don't even know if Tony was here that day, or at that time, but somebody came over and said, hey, this guy really wants that one. What do you think? And I said, okay, if you want it, I'll take the next one. So he bought it and we still couldn't get him. And then he wound up bringing it back in months later and said, I'm ready to sell it. And so I bought it from him. So it's funny that it's used. So he put the first 300 miles on it and he did some stuff, different turn signals. He put the booster plug on it. He did yellow headlight, and so I wouldn't have done that, but I kind of like it now. I do like it. It becomes kind of your signature thing that like Nicole said, if we lead a group ride and I'm the last and she's the first, you can tell, hey, everybody's here, yellow headlight showed up. Or if I was yellow headlight and waving frantically, we know there's a problem or something. So it makes you easy identifiable when it starts to get a little dark during the day and all you can see is headlights. It is nice. So anyway, the other one that I just got, I'm sure I've mentioned this and I will do an in the loop on this bike, is a Moto Guzzi Quota. I drove states away to buy this bike. It's so rare that this is something I'm going to talk more and more about in the future about Moto Guzzi. But Moto Guzzi, they don't want me to tell you this. Some people at Moto Guzzi, but they don't make a lot of bikes. You know, Royal Enfield made 860,000 motorcycles last year. I think Moto Guzzi made somewhere around 10,000. And as far as the bikes that actually made it to the U.S., the numbers are very small, shockingly small. These are boutique, hand-built motorcycles. In the original factory from day one. Yeah, 100 years in the same factory. And the Quota that I have is even more of an oddball. The history of it is kind of, so basically it's the grandfather or maybe even the great grandfather of the current V85, the one that I mentioned that Cheryl has. Tony has one. You described it once as a mix between the V85 and the Himalayan. It is also very similar to the Himalayan. When I first got it, I said, you got to ride this thing because it's basically a Himalayan with an 1100 engine. And so almost 3 times the Himalayan engine size. It's air cooled. It's of course shaft drive. Oh, we didn't move enough. The lighting is fine. The light went off here because nobody's walked in, and we're in an awkward corner where maybe we wouldn't have caught the thing. I actually think it's fine.
Sometimes
it's Christmas cozy.
Utterly alone.
It's Christmas cozy. It made Nicole go dark. Anyway, so the thing about the Quota is it's kind of a weird one where. But it has a 21-inch front wheel and a 17 rear. It's literally the same size tires. Yeah, as the Himalayan. So and it's soft suspension, kind of more of a touring Himalayan, if you will, and came out, of course, in Italy. And then it was Europe only for a number of years. And then at the very end, I kind of think they were just thinking, okay, this bike's run its course. We're going to move on and make another bike, move on to a different bike. Let's just ship the last, 1,000 to the U.S. Now, I heard there were a couple hundred. I actually talked, one of the guys that's high up in Royal Enfield, North America, told me he used to work for Moto Guzzi at this time. And he said he heard 2,000. That sounds high to me that they would have brought 2,000 into the U.S. He said it could have been all of North and South America or something. Anyway, very low number of these bikes. I saw one. A guy brought one in, and when I first saw the quota, I thought it was hideous. I saw it online.
It was the red one, right?
He brought in this kind of dark red, kind of this brick red.
Because I feel like the color really threw me off.
You didn't
on the
like
first
it.
one.
I loved it. When he brought it in, I thought, man, actually...
All black bike, all
I know,
all
you
the
like
time.
all black.
So the black
all your bikes
quota,
are black. The three that we listed are all black. It's funny. So anyway, I saw this. I thought it looked hideous. Not in person. On the internet, I'd seen photos of it. And I thought, man, this is an ugly bike. Moto Guzzi definitely has made some ugly bikes. No matter what you say, if you're a Moto Guzzi fan, they've made some. What is Centauro? Hideous.
Yeah.
They made some. There's a couple of V11s in there that are really gross.
So I recently made the Moto Guzzi owners and interested dinner timeline. I left quite a few bikes off the timeline.
Yeah. So anyway, this guy brings in the quota. I had ridden it. He had some electrical issue. It wasn't even like a ride it around issue. So I really didn't ride it very much. But I was like, man, I really like the concept of this. I personally, Dylan, likes a very soft suspension. I don't care about suspension. I said I don't care about the sporty. You know, when you get a sporty suspension, for me, it's jarring going over the potholes or, you know, any speed bump in the road, and they add up, and I get annoyed. And I like the soft suspension. I like some suspension travel. I like wide handlebars. That's something I also noticed. Gina, we've already mentioned her a couple times. She has a Triumph Scrambler 1200, wide handlebars. It feels like a dirt bike that's also a street bike, you know what I mean? And the V85 has probably the widest handlebars of any production motorcycle. And you just feel it's 500 pounds, but you feel like it's light and you're in control because you just have all this leverage. Look at me.
Which is funny because I don't care for that on like the Triumph Speedmaster.
Yeah, I could see that on a cruiser being just like awkward, cumbersome.
Because I do like the handlebars on the quota, but even that, and I absolutely have to have a handlebar riser. So up and wide is fine. It's just, it really depends on your whole configuration.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, and the Italians especially, they like leaning forward. Even the Super Meteor, I feel like from the factory stock, that's why we said it needed a little bit of a riser. Europeans love to be leaning into it. They feel sporty, and I don't think Americans care.
I don't want to lean.
I don't care about that
remotely
that
any amount.
I know.
Not one iota.
A little bit more neutral is more comfortable for me. Anyway,
so there's a quick question on that because you talk about what you ride now and what you like in a bike. What did you ride? This is a question from the group. What did you ride before we started Throttle? What was your daily ride before that?
Well, I was more into the vintage bikes when, you know, obviously we started Throttle basically with the premise of being vintage only. How funny is that? Because there are so many assumptions that we had. We thought the shop would make the majority of our money and that would keep everything running because people need service. But then we thought, well, we're going to run out of customers. How many people have vintage bikes out there? It turns out to be the complete opposite of the truth. And then I thought, well, these new bikes, you don't make enough money off of them, and Royal Enfield's a relatively unknown brand. That's going to be hard to make money. And it turns out that's actually the opposite, is that Royal Enfield's sales have been such a significant part of our business. Anyway, going into that, it was a lot of vintage bikes. So like CB550 I rode a lot, but again, that was blending, or a 500 that we have on the poster, the big poster in the other room that you had with your 360. So Nicole's answer for this is much easier. It's a Honda CB360, but vintage. But at the same time, I had that 500 that I rode a lot. I've had a 550 that I rode a lot. My first bike was a 750 Nighthawk. So it was a 92. And then right after that, it was perfect. By that I mean stock, 50,000 miles. I still have this bike in the garage. But then that one ran so well that I thought, well, I'd like one to tinker on. So I bought another one that hadn't run. And the guy said it hadn't run a year. I realize now people's memories don't work very well, and it was years.
Just needs a new battery.
Yeah. And so I had it towed home. This is in Florida when I lived there. I lived there for like 4 years. And and it was just, this thing was rusty and stuff. So I started tinkering away. So I made a custom Nighthawk. It was 90s. It was basically the same bike, 96 or something. So I had those two. I bought a Buell Blast at some point and sort of just chopped it up. The guy let me ride it home, and I realized it didn't have a drop of oil in it. It was cheap, but still, that was crazy.
That thing doesn't have a tail end.
Now, yeah, I've chopped it up, and I've had plans I was going to do, and then we wound up doing this business and getting into the vintage bikes more. So it took a back burner thing, and it's never really been on the road. So that doesn't really count necessarily. But I have a bunch. My dad and I were into Triumphs, so vintage Triumphs, sort of 60s Triumphs. We had a 65 Bonneville and a 70 Daytona's the other room. I rode a lot. There's definitely videos on our website and us going to Eurobike Night of me riding that bike consistently. It's right side shift and all that. Drum brakes. And
so like a really reliable motorcycle.
Well, it actually is reliable. I heard someone start it up the other day, and you could tell that my bike a mile away, but the battery might need charge, but man, it just fires up. Speaking of, those guys were talking about that BSA. I started that up last night. First kick, I'm not even exaggerating.
Did I tell you that I was on the phone with a guy from Pittsburgh who was interested in that bike, and we talked for like an hour about it?
No.
That was the guy.
Should have just Facebook Live starting it.
Yeah, he was very surprised. He was like, "You guys have one?"
There's something about these British bikes. If you find one that starts first kick, and that's the joke, start first kick, but they tried 20 times or whatever. If you legitimately find one of these bikes that starts first or second kick, or if you know it takes a second to set it up and kick it through and get the fuel flowing, and then it fires up, those are rare. To find the one that's set up well and dialed in and tuned up for that. I mean, that BSA is one of those, that's shocking how well it runs. And it sat, and we put a choke on it because I didn't like how it started, but it put the choke on, tickle the carburettas, and it goes. It's only one
carburettor. Yeah. So that was the basic conversation, was that we were talking about how this one only had one carb, and the other one we have in the back is dual carb, and this whole big thing. And Again, I don't usually toot my own horn, but he was like, "We've been having a conversation for 45 minutes, and you're
a woman.
You've got lady parts and a lady brain.
Your ovaries didn't get in the way once."
Okay, so somebody asked, heard you guys had a movie night a couple weeks ago. Wish I could have made it. Any plans for more movie nights in the near future?
Month.
So it is going to be in our off season, probably repeatable next year, but in the off season. So October, November, December, January, February.
We kind of have the rest of them planned out as far as, you definitely know the dates. But as far as the movies, we were kind of open to suggestions. Nicole and I like to put a priority on people that actually showed up for these. And we said, okay, let's see what you guys suggest. And then everybody bailed on their own suggestion on the next one. So
you're not allowed to pick anymore.
We did Ghost Rider. And then we said, okay, of the people that are here, at the end, sort of, that movie was over. It's Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage, and it's kind of cheesy and silly, and that was the point. And but it was good.
It was the point that only I got.
I know, you and I got it. And we're like, silent. Hey, isn't he silly? And like trying to seed the conversation of like, you're okay to talk over this movie. It's Nicolas Cage for Cage's sake, and so then afterwards. We were like, okay, what are we thinking for the next movie? And someone said Akira, and everyone's, Akira, yeah, I like Akira. I'm not throwing anyone in the bus who said Akira. Someone suggested it. And I'm not like the new wave of anime I don't like. I love Cowboy Bebop. So, there's some anime that I like. So I was like,
Akira's
Akira,
from the 80s.
Yeah. And which is very impressive, actually, if you think about it from that terms, the animation that they did. But I was like, I actually had never seen Akira. I'd seen parts of it, but I always wanted to watch it. And I really liked it. But then as soon as it over, people were like, that was too weird.
It was very weird.
It got weird. It definitely gets weird.
If you haven't seen it,
it gets weird.
It gets weird.
Even for anime, it gets weird. And it was, but man, I liked it. And it was cool. And it did drift from the motorcycling. In the beginning, they're all in the motorcycle gang and everybody's riding motorcycles. And then it kind of becomes too weird for motorcycles.
If it wasn't such a long movie, the percentage that wasn't related to motorcycles wouldn't have been so jarring.
I agree. Well, anyway, so then people were like, who suggested Akira? What an idiot, you know? And so people were just like, never mind, Akira was a bad idea, which I don't agree with. I thought it was great, and I felt like when I was talking to people, everyone was like, nobody liked it. I was like, I liked it. So then I liked it. Then actually, one person. You weren't counting me. So then the next time we watched On Any Sunday, which is like the classic motorcycle movie. So I was like, okay, people bailed on Akira. And by that, I don't mean people didn't show up. A lot of people have been showing up to these things. That's the thing that I keep thinking is like, I thought, well, only a couple people showing up. It's getting cold
for the
out
fresh
there.
Popcorn.
You can't really ride a motorcycle to it. Why are people going to? And people have been riding motorcycles to it for sure. And you bring snacks and everything, and we hang out. And so On Any Sunday worked out pretty good. I actually thought, I joked with Nicole, I said, you're going to have to entertain people if this movie gets too boring. Because sometimes the pace, it's from 1971. The pace of 70s movies sometimes it doesn't hold up to our modern sensibilities about ADD.
But in reality,
TikTok.
all you have to do is just say, wow, what a weird thing to say. And everyone was like,
oh yeah, it actually worked out pretty good because they would say the phrases, the way that they put things together or whatever.
It was a narrated movie.
Yeah,
and that was just so weird.
It is for modern times. It was almost weird enough that it kept you interested because you're like, fascinated.
What are they going to say next?
They show this guy in a business suit and they're like, he's no businessman, he's a motorcycle racer. And
he's a dirty biker.
It was cheesy stuff, and it was great, and we loved it. So I can't even remember what the next ones on the list are, but I was talking to someone after that, and they were showing me clips of Torque, and they were saying Torque.
TORC? TORK?
Q, maybe. I can't remember. Anyway, the Torque is fascinating, so I think we should work Torque in there somewhere. But basically, the story of this is pretty interesting. They basically made it as a making fun of the Fast and the Furious, kind of from a biker's perspective. And in the very beginning, they drive by this in the desert. They drive by these two road signs, and as they're spinning, they spell out "Cars suck," and like it's very over the top comedy, like slapstick almost. Like, remember those scary movies that were making fun of Scream and stuff? It's like that, like very like cheeseball, like we're not even trying to be serious. This is the whole point of this scene, is to make fun of another scene in another movie kind of thing. And they were shifting a million times, kind of the Fast and Furious jokes. But this is what he said. The guy, it's Carrie who told me about it and showed me the clips of it. Basically, they finished the movie and the director turns in this movie. Here's the movie. It's making fun of Fast and Furious and other movies like that or whatever. And they were like, no one wants this comedy. We have to re-edit this movie as it's serious. So, no, I'm not joking. So that's the thing about it, is that you watch these scenes and they're bizarre because it's clearly shot as a comedy, like I'm saying with the cars suck thing, but then they're trying to like, no, okay, make it serious.
So
how are you going to make it serious? It's already shot.
Nick Cage just said, good breaks too.
That's my favorite line from Gone in 60 Seconds. Good breaks too. Anyway, so, but it is like that. It's making fun of movies like that are like, they're cheesy and they're taking themselves too seriously. But then someone was like, no, take it seriously after the fact. So it's already filmed and they try to make it into a serious movie. That is interesting. So I do think that would be a fun one to watch because it is 100% motorcycle content. That was the thing about these other ones that we've watched where it was like, yeah, motorcycles, and then they kind of veered off away. So motorcycles are in it 100% of the time. And this fact that knowing it was shot as a comedy and intended to be a comedy, but then became serious. That's like, have you ever heard this about Half Baked? Half Baked is Dave Chappelle and Jim Breuer and everything. It's a movie about weed, and they basically decided to start selling drugs or whatever to afford their house and all this stuff. And one of the guys got fired. Anyway, it's a comedy movie. It's a classic 90s, like Happy Gilmore and Tommy Boy and Dirty Work. It's like that.
Why did you just have to say a list of movies I've not seen?
I know you haven't seen any of those, but this is for the audience. Okay. And anyway, they filmed that, and Dave Chappelle was so mad after the fact. He said, you took a weed movie and made it for kids. So basically the studio or whatever edited it and made it more, in his opinion, kind of dumbed down and silly. And I do think that's pretty interesting to know how movies get made, that like even the director, writer, creator, whoever, the people can have a vision and it just goes off course because they think they can sell it this way. Yeah. Anyway. What a tangent. Jesus.
Ooh.
Another light went off.
It's
going to be pitch black in here in a minute.
Okay.
That's what happens if you sit still long enough. All the lights go off here.
And there isn't something big enough walking around.
Hopefully. Brandon.
Okay,
And the
so,
dog. Marley's here.
Yes. So it's a two-part question.
I love them. I love 2 parts.
And I'm trying to remember what this person's question was because I got to. There's a lot of people's comments are getting deleted, and I'm not
does that mean?
really sure why.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we have some settings on there, like if you swear or saying something.
No, it's not been that. But someone asked how. Crap! I want to remember the first part of the question because
I'm glad you're trying to keep up with it.
Goes to
so
the
weird.
second part of the question. Cars do suck.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, that you alluded to this, but I feel as though I'm really honing in. You know how much Nicole knows how much I love popcorn. I actually thought about making popcorn today. I'm going to make some tomorrow. We bought a popcorn maker for the movie night. It's sort of a middle professional. What would they call that? Commercial, prosumer. And we bought a popcorn thing that, like, it wouldn't work at the movie theater, but it's like if you had a movie.
It would work for our bootleg movie theater, though.
Yeah. And so if you had a whatever movie theater in your house kind of thing, and if you were Richmond.
Yeah, if you're Richmond.
And we started to make the popcorn. I was like, it could be better. It could be butterier, could be saltier. And so I was just Googling, as you do, what makes the movie theater popcorn better and all that stuff. So I found this stuff and I did some experimenting, some sciencing, some many hours of taste testing. And I feel like I'm really honing in on the popcorn, what really makes the butter movie theater experience from the popcorn. And last time it was good. It's getting better, and I think it's getting better every time. I'm going to make some tomorrow because I think it's great.
Reeling you back in.
Thank you.
What is your favorite solo ride that you've done that has changed you or impacted you, good or bad? With the follow-up question.
Good or bad?
Of describe that the world ends and your transportation is your bike. Now, the reason I combined those two comments together.
Right. This is for you.
This is for me, yes.
You.
The reason that those are combined for me is because the single thing that I think about on every solo ride is I'm just preparing for this to be the apocalypse. This is a trial run.
There's no city or whatever.
This is a, what if I ride through a town and there's just nobody there? And then I'm just like, well, I have everything I need on my bike. I'm ready to go, ready to survive as the last person on Earth. And then when sometimes my brain gets a little upset when I arrive at my destination and there are other humans.
Oh, shit.
So every solo ride I have, I feel like it changes me for the better, in the sense that I feel like I have hardened myself more and more for, like, because I can ignore the other cars on the road. To me, they don't necessarily exist. They
definitely ignore you.
That is true. However, the original question was really, and it got deleted, so I'm not really sure if I'm saying the question right.
I don't think people aren't deleting. Do you think, especially because some of these questions, like the first question, I thought, like, when I say, like, what's your daily ride? Like, oh, maybe they don't want to answer that. I'll back off. But I don't think they would have deleted that. That's a fine question.
That's what I'm assuming. Except
something automatic is happening.
There's been quite a few from other people that have disappeared too. So it's not like one person.
What a mystery. Now the lights are off. It's starting to feel like something happening.
When there stops being cars driving past the building, I'm going to be a little concerned.
Demon entity in our chat deleting some of the important questions they don't want us to get to? What is
the solo? Crap! Now I have to remember what this question was, because
you said specifically the solo ride was focusing on changed you, memorable or that has. That was the part that stuck out to me when you asked, was that it changed you. What I think is interesting, my answer isn't going to be as interesting as yours, because you've done definitely more miles, and you've had more, like, incidents. For me, what definitely solidified motorcycling, period, for me. And this is the reason that we exist, Throttle Company, but also the reason that we keep doing this, Nicole and I, is moments like this. For me, there's a bridge that was where I lived, was called Cape Coral. So if you look it up on a map or whatever, it is a cape. It's a peninsula. And so the connecting over the river, it's on the Gulf side of Florida. is to Fort Myers. So there's some bridges, big bridges.
Do they still exist?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yes. You're saying because of hurricane. Yeah. Actually, Cape Coral's okay, but Sanibel is the one that had the bridge knocked out.
But they have been decreasing connectivity.
Sanibel had the bridge knocked out, but I think Cape Coral's bridge was okay. Anyway, well, that's interesting. I think it still exists. But anyway, this big bridge, it wound up being a toll bridge, but you pay your money up before, and then you drive over this big arching bridge. And I was driving my motorcycle, the 750 Nighthawk, at night. Maybe it wasn't even at night. Anyway, I was by myself. There was no other traffic. I mean, this is a very, very, there's people there, but like certain times of the day, there's just nobody there. And there's no like rush hour. Like a lot of these people don't work over there. So it's like half retirement. It's Florida.
The Richmonds.
Yeah. And so half the people on my street, it was their part-time house, it was their snowbirds. And so they only go there for the winter. So in the summer or whatever, half the people aren't there. So I'm driving over this bridge, and I remember in my helmet screaming, "Woo!" Like we're on a roller coaster. I'm by myself.
I remember you telling me this when I first started riding.
And I remember thinking it was just the feeling came over me of like emotional, like a positive emotion, and it just became an outburst of like, "Woo!" Like a kid, like you're a kid riding over a ramp or something that you built.
So the thing that it reminds me of this, and I've only ever heard it like a audio of it, but it's is it Goofy? And he's riding a scooter, and he just like goes over a hill, and goes, "Whoa, ho, ho, ho," or yeah, something like that. And like that's what I hear when you tell me that.
Yeah.
Was what you sounded like.
Yeah, but yes, but and that for when that happened, just the fact that I could feel this like child delight of, I'm telling you, I can't even. It was beautiful. You're next to the Gulf. And you could see out into the Gulf, and the river meets there, and it's very, at least on the water there is very like untamed. There's not a bunch of houses there. There's just a bunch of like these, what do they call those trees that are in the water? I can't remember right now. Mangroves. Yeah. And so beautiful, like natural Florida landscape, and this water and the sun and the weather was perfect, and I'm going over this crest of this bridge, and all of those things happen at once, and I'd probably driven over that bridge 100 times in a car, and I never felt that way. So that's the thing that I think is that, back to what I'm trying to say, is that when we try to share the beauty that is motorcycling that has affected us, the two of us, this way, if I can speak for you for a little bit, is that those are the feelings. I always describe it to people. When you go down into a valley and they always finish my sentence, "And it gets cold." Yeah, isn't that crazy? Mm-hmm. You never notice that in a car. You would never notice. Or
you
that
suddenly
in a car.
Smell like one side of the street has recently mowed their lawn and the other hasn't, and then there's
mint or jasmine or some. It's just like, what is that? Oh, I smell flowers. And so I think that's an interesting thing about motorcycling is in a way that you would never have. I would never have expected, at least. It connects you to nature,
which interestingly, so having lots and lots of miles of hiking under my belt as well, it isn't the same thing as being, quote, out in nature that way either.
No.
And it has to do with the quick change between the
flying.
warm, cool, warm,
Yeah.
the perception of that going down into a little ditch, and then it's a little bit cool. Because when you're hiking, you kind of...
It's too gradual.
Yeah, it's too gradual.
Yeah.
And so you don't really perceive it as so obvious.
I agree.
And so it's not... Like, because I've actually had someone say, because I've used this example as why one of the reasons I like motorcycling so much is that you get to experience it. It takes away my need to concentrate on too many things because too many things are happening.
Yeah.
And so, well, you could just go for a walk, and it's like, yes, that is a totally different thing. That's a different mental health exposure, but you have more time to take in those things. For me, it's a little bit of the overwhelming part of feeling all of those things at once.
When you're walking, you almost don't have to concentrate. Your body knows how to walk. You don't have to pay attention to where you're not going to accidentally. I guess you could walk into traffic, but you're not going to. I was going to say,
don't speak for everyone on that one.
Walking or something, you're not going to get. But see, motorcycling takes a certain amount of your brain to pay attention, to focus, and then the rest of your mind can wander a little bit. The meditation thing or whatever. You've never seen this movie, but their movie Layer Cake, where the guy talks about filleting fish. And he says, it's called meanie from Star Trek. But so he says, I like to fillet fish. He said, what are you talking about? And he said, because it occupies my body enough that my brain is free to think. And I think that's exactly what happens on motorcycle. Anyway, that feeling changed me in the sense that it set this course in motion that we are now, having this motorcycle shop where our goal is to share that feeling or feelings like that with other people. Going camping like we did in the super secret camp out was an incredible experience. Socially, hanging out with all those people, just going on that ride led by John, but we did the Zaleski Zipper, which is a known route. You could look that up.
Look it up.
Look it up. And you look it up. Oh, I thought we were going to do it together.
Oh,
anyway,
no, I
like
wasn't.
80s movie. No, I definitely knew you knew that, but I wasn't going to do it. Anyway, so, and that route was incredible. When we got back, I was just thinking, guys, that was pretty serious. The riding, and it was intense, and it was great, and it was an awesome time. And that's experiences like that make it so I want to share it with people. That's why we're trying to. That's like I said, we're in the mode of doing the camping and stuff. That I love to share that with people because it's so life-changing. It's so important. It's so dramatic of an experience. Did you want to answer that in more of a personal for you question?
So yeah, so for me, the thing that I think, I was actually talking to someone last night at my dodgeball league.
Totally normal sentence.
At my Stonewall dodgeball meet and greet, that this girl was, she said she used to ride a motorcycle. She got a motorcycle in high school. She had a Gixxer 250. And for conditions not favorable to her, she had to sell it. And so somebody else told her that it was too dangerous and it was a condition of something for her to not own the bike anymore.
Got it. It's fine. You just said it like a lawyer. She submits the plea of no contest in having to sell the motorcycle, Your Honor.
Yes, no guilt implied,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, and she was like, well, someday I might want to get back into it. And I was like, well, I can't even say the phrase that I'm referred to as on our podcast. I think it would get us in trouble. But there's something that one of our acquaintance, friends-ish people say is that I'm a starter when it comes to getting people into motorcycling. And it's a particular skill that I feel like I have, but it's mostly because of I think it's the way that I talk about the experience of motorcycling for me.
It's contagious or whatever.
I have had it explained to me, because I'm just going to go off on a tangent. I'm just going to talk about motorcycles for as long as you let me talk about motorcycles. And I'm going to talk about motorcycles in every conversation. It's going to come to the point where I talk about motorcycles. Is there a way for me to tangent this conversation into motorcycles? Is there something that you're going to say that's completely innocuous and I'm just going to make it
Speaking
about
of motorcycles, wait
motorcycles?
a second.
And they're going to be like, how did we get on the topic of motorcycles? But the fact that I'm able to apparently talk so passionately about it.
This is a support group or whatever. All of these people are the same way. No one here is going to be like, that's weird.
Yeah, but here's the fun fact. We are surrounded by motorcycle people every day.
Yeah.
I have just learned there are people out there who don't think about motorcycles every day.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
What do you think about?
How do you put into context your seasons? How do you decide what to wear? Why do you check the weather?
What do you live for? Why even get out of bed?
Why do you complain about gas prices? Why do you...
Are you telling me that when you want to get a delicious burger, you just drive straight there? What? You're supposed to take the long route.
It takes you 10 minutes to drive to a coffee shop? Did you know there is one 150 miles away?
Just go to that far away one. All right.
You could make a coffee run 4 hours if you didn't know. But my point is that, again, all of those are actually real examples that I've made. I've actually recently asked someone why she bothers checking the weather. Why does it matter to her? Because I'm thinking, why do you need to check the weather if you're not making sure it's not going to rain?
Who cares if it rains?
You're in a car. I care because I don't have a roof. So this girl last night was saying that I'd have to convince her wife that it would be okay for her to get a motorcycle. I'm like, I happen to have a particular set of skills when it comes to that because
let me at her.
Because if it can be convinced, what I think I've learned is that the way that I talk about motorcycling and the way that I am very clearly have a lifestyle dedicated around it, is that I have found my particular thing to hyperfixate on.
Yeah, but also,
and it's contagious.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, I think that a lot of people have this similar story. You know, we talk about it all the time. Someone got out of motorcycling and they got back into it. If you have young kids, that sort of seems like a thing. We just talked about that yesterday. It's forgivable. You think like, young kids, I don't want the worst to happen, and my kids don't have a father or whatever. I get that. That's
or a mother.
common. Yeah, of course. But that's a common. That's a common reason for having stopped doing motorcycling for a short period of time. Another reason that you hear is sort of what you had said, where it's too dangerous. I'm not saying it's not dangerous. Obviously, everyone here.
It's inherently dangerous, and once you accept that fact.
Well, sure, but I mean, it's the way that some people do it. Because we talked about this, and we are so lucky, and obviously, I'm extremely thankful that like the people who died that we know about in our motorcycle community are not because of motorcycles. It's something else, like Old Man Ronan. He had cancer, things like that. But we don't. You know, I'm in this group, Columbus Bike Life. And they're the sport.
Why did you give away the secret?
And they're the sport bike riders, and they're on Facebook in Columbus, and they're the crazy ones. They're doing wheelies down the highway, and they're doing all this crazy stuff. If you act like that, an obvious thing is you can check in on this group. Somebody dies every week in the summer. It's crazy, and I'm not exaggerating. This is a big city, and there's a lot of people in this group, and in our Columbus area vintage group or our Throttle Company community, it would be a huge, I mean, it'd obviously be a tragedy, and it is a tragedy, but it would be such a unique tragedy.
It would be a surprise.
Oh my God, somebody died. What happened? And it wouldn't be because they were doing a 100-mile-an-hour wheelie down 270 and a family car didn't realize it. It would be because of some, some set of circumstances that probably either wasn't in their control or
wasn't motorcycle related.
Wasn't as dangerous is what I'm trying to say. So when you say GSXR, sort of in my mind, I feel like, yeah, other GSXR riders or other people that are riding a sport bike, they sometimes can be the crazy ones. And no matter what bike you ride, there are plenty of people that ride whatever bike and they're crazy. We aren't like that. That's not our community. And that's not the people that we know. They're not out there taking these unnecessary. They're not drinking and riding. That was a thing we complained about, speaking of the class. Mm-hmm. In my class, they spent half the class talking about how dangerous it was to drink alcohol and how all of the accidents, 80% of motorcycle accidents are one vehicle accidents, meaning they ran into something and they were drunk. And I've avoided half of those because I would never do that. So we're just our community is serious about motorcycling, not just being ridiculous.
That's quite the argument that I made, particularly in this instance, that I make a lot. And when we have, like, for example, I think it's interesting, our friends Zach and Jane in this scenario is not on the risk mitigation part, but on the like interest, which is what the second part of that argument. And if you're interested in getting your friends or family or significant other into riding, I definitely think that the best suggestion is to take the class, number one, but take it together too, because then even if the other person isn't interested in riding themselves, they can at least be exposed to and experience the amount of self risk mitigation you can do through just being safe, wearing the right gear, not being an idiot, lots of different things. But the point is
how funny it would be if you taught the class and you were like, all right, don't be an idiot.
Oh, look, we've been going through the classroom stuff real quick. It's don't be
drink and
an
drive.
idiot.
How do you not
wear a helmet? That's all I got.
Know that? I mean, that's crazy.
So speaking of gear, RD said that there is not any bad weather, just bad gear.
I don't know.
I have a strong opposition to that because I have ridden a literal 1,000 miles in the rain on multiple occasions. And particularly if you're not used to it, it's very tiring. I mean, I think that some people who don't ride don't realize that just riding extended mileage is tiring in and of itself. But also, like, not just you get tired, but I mean like physically demanding. But also
mentally exhausting.
The mental exhaustion comes in when there are lots of other factors like rain. Yeah. So you can't see as well. You have to completely change the way you ride in the sense that you have to be like, okay, I have to cut my response time in half and change how I ride overall and stuff like that. So I would not head out on a casual ride if it was raining, but it's not going to stop me from going on a trip. So it's not. I mean, I'm usually prepared mentally and physically.
I don't know. I think
gear,
I get the sentiment of what he's saying. You know, the gear makes a huge impact, but you know, any of these like kind of sayings like that usually fall apart in the extremes because you feel like, okay, well, what if it was 120 degrees in the desert and your bike is going to overheat or something? You know, it's just like, well, obviously there's cases where it would be. I would consider it bad weather if it's snowing and.
I had to turn on the heat from our
sleeping.
Totally real fire.
I mean, it's fire. It has heat, obviously.
The schedule for the HVAC has been off probably long enough for it to
right.
not be
I'm
running.
assuming that you have some more things, but maybe we should start our Midwestern goodbye. We should start. This was a joke because last time I said Midwestern goodbye, and then
we went an entire hour after that.
I don't think that's true.
I think
refuse
that's true.
to believe it.
I think that's true.
And I don't know how to do this. Maybe I'll have to get my friend Zach's help. But I'd love to have a count up. So we can see how long we've been going on the Midwestern goodbye. I think that would be hilarious.
Yes,
but that was
push the
because Anna,
button.
who's not from the Midwest, she's from Florida.
Yeah.
And she was like, "What is happening with the Midwestern
She
goodbye?"
texted me afterwards. She's like, "You guys are strong with the Midwestern goodbye."
Well, Nicole and I both do this, where someone will come in and you'll connect with them in some way. They have the same bike as you, or they want to go do the same things, or they're excited about getting into motorcycling, and that's the thing that we like getting into. Oh yeah, you want to get into motorcycling? Okay, we'll talk about it and all this stuff. Or you're a new person or whatever, new to the group community, and you'll say, "Okay, I'll see you later." No, I gotta get going, you know. And 20 minutes later, you're, "Oh yeah, what about? Have you ever been down to Hocking Hills?" And you just start
there's
bringing
stages.
up a conversation.
You start the goodbye while they're sitting on the bike that they're interested in, and then
So
they're
that's-
walking over to the desk, and then they're standing by the front door, and then we go outside and stand next to the demo bikes, and
You
they
know
get
what-
back on the bike that
You
they
know what's
wanted
the
to test.
funniest is when you start that, when you say, "Okay, well, you know we do test rides. You want to do it? You've been talking about what?" No, I don't want to do it. I don't have the time
Test
today.
ride.
And
Didn't
then you
bring a
spend
gear.
an hour
Yeah.
talking about something else.
Or I didn't bring my
could've done
gear.
this.
Oh well, we have stuff to borrow. Well,
Yeah. Well, anyway, so that's why I thought it'd be funny as like a kind of continuing joke to start the Midwestern goodbye across the top of the screen or whatever, and it says,
Welp.
It starts count. It says well, and starts counting up, because then it's like, now we know we're in the mode of. It doesn't mean the show's ending in 5 minutes.
no, because
it means we've
we've mentioned
that direction.
something that makes me want to pivot to a different thing, and that's the fact that Anna was riding today. She lives in Florida. Did 222 miles. It's 65
How
degrees,
precise. 65,
and she was cold.
Yeah, the Floridians. She's
She
a
said she
true,
had three
she's got-
layers on,
she's
and I'm
got
like,
Florida blood.
I told her that I would literally
65. I would love 65.
I would kill.
I would not wear that many layers.
I would kill for 55 to
Yeah.
58 degrees.
It got to 47 today, as far as I know, but dark. It was all gloomy all day.
Yeah, it was not sunshiny. Or
Okay.
anything.
Do you have pivots? Do you have more housekeeping questions we needed to answer?
We've answered pretty much all the questions. There were some comments when we were talking about the emotional response we have to riding, and that is the first time riding down into a shaded valley and experiencing the temperature change was crazy, and I love it now.
Yeah.
And then Artie was like, in the summertime, you get why dogs hang their heads out the window.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, yeah, and you know what's interesting is I've been, especially if I go on a longer ride, I wear earplugs because, man, that constant drone.
Yeah,
of the
and
wind.
Artie is counting up our
Thank you.
Midwestern. We are
Just
at 2
keep
minutes.
Going. Oh, I don't. You're gonna get tired if you keep doing that.
65 is not t-shirt weather, Artie, because you should be wearing a jacket.
He knows. But yeah, so I feel like you're wearing earplugs, but there is that constant. It's like you and I both have tinnitus. I was actually thinking. Of this.
I've been adjusting my headphones for an hour now because it's not tinnitus necessarily, but my stretches and my piercings do not there's no cavity inside these.
Yeah,
and
they're
so
a little small.
And I have a small head, small ears, all the things, and they just.
Have you actually heard it pronounced tinnitus?
By a Britishman.
Oh. Well, I think, in the same way that I think it might be diabetes and harassment.
Harassment.
I think that it might be that way, where it's technically it's tinnitus, but anyone says tinnitus. Anyway, I was thinking the other day it'd be funny.
Diabetes.
Can you do this? I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't want to do it. Can you make the tone of your tinnitus? That's what I'm hearing all the time. Anyway, so it is in the sense of a dog putting their head out the window or whatever, it is white noise. You know, so if I have earplugs and it's not too loud in my helmet and stuff, and I'm wearing earplugs, it is this like isolation, focus, concentration that has another like meditative quality to it.
I am just short story time. But I could not find my earplugs.
That'll be the joke, as we'll just, every time we veer clearly away from the goodbye, it'll be welp.
So last year, I on the way to this past year, on the way to Bro could not find my. I have a pair of loop earplugs.
Oh, I know, and you kept texting me. I can't find earplugs. I'm like, the gas station's gotta have them. Like Flying J or
one
something.
of the reasons I'd gotten off my route and ultimately found Cheryl and Meg were because I had gone off of my planned route to go to a different Sheets or Loves or whatever to try to find earplugs, and I didn't until we were like 3/4 of the way to where we were stopping for the night, and I finally found some Airplanes, which are a brand that you use for flying.
Oh, okay.
So to do the kind of the barometric pressure thing that I have.
But are they regular like foam?
They're not foam. They are silicone, but they have this tunnel in the middle that is literally meant to equalize the pressure in your ear. So they're not. They do reduce the decibels.
Well, that's
but I
how
think
I have cheap foam ones. Well, I have maybe that's one of the sounds I'll get. It'll be well, and then you'll like it. Then you'll finally come around. Anyway, the motorcycle specific ones that I have do have that tube, and then I have guitar ones.
I have loop. I have motorcycle specific loops.
Is it a loop?
The ones I forgot to bring with me.
But what I mean is it literally, it comes out and it's a circle and
yes.
that goes back? Okay.
Yes, the brand is loop as well.
Yeah.
Yes. But I forgot those somehow.
Yeah.
And then I forgot my backup pair because I always carry the two pairs. How I forgot that, and I've now since found both.
Yeah, I put one in my pocket.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find earplugs for 7 hours of riding.
Every stop.
Stopped every single time, asked people like, hey, you probably don't have this on the road. Well, anyway, so they have this little like leash that connects them and hooks around the thing. So I wore them on the plane to India because that's what they're for.
They're for that.
And I lost them.
Oh, yeah. What did happen? We looked for them.
I don't know. I lost them in the Frankfurt airport. And then I looked around in all of those shops for earplugs and never found another pair.
Didn't I have
So
earplugs?
for a total of 20 hours of flying combined for the rest of the trip.
I thought I had earplugs.
No, I ended up using the flight provided headphones.
Oh, yeah.
As earplugs.
By the way, speaking of Meekum, I always bring earplugs because it's very loud. They try to make it like a rock
Yeah,
concert.
the one and only time, and definitely one of the reasons why I have no desire to go back.
It's inundating.
Just the social aspect of it for me is too much, but the sound. So if you have any interest in going to Meekum live, I think on TV might not be as bad because you can turn the volume down.
You can turn it off, yeah.
But like it's in this big, it's like a horse corral thing where all the bikes are lined up and stuff.
It's a rodeo show normally.
It's clean. They obviously prepare the surface for the motorcycles.
Poop.
My point is that it's this big concrete building that echoes
they are
so
trying
bad.
to make it a rock show. They play
and then you go
Back in Black.
Yes, and it's just incredibly loud, incredibly overwhelming. And if you've ever heard an auction, it is traditional.
I did it. Babbity 500. Babbity 1,000.
You are an eighth of the speed.
I know. Yeah, but that's
and
what they
volume
do.
And all.
That's what they do, and it can be too much. Well, actually, I feel like I saved a guy's life one time. So the show's about to start. They do all this stuff, whatever. As soon as it starts, he's this older guy, and he's putting his fingers in his ear and like cowering down. And I was like, "Hey, buddy, I got earplugs. You want them?" And he was like, "Oh my god!" And he put them in, and his son was like, "Thank you so much." And I was like, "Hey, that's why I have them. I don't want this.
I need earplugs at like a bar."
I know. Well, once you have tinnitus, that's the funny thing is that David Freiberger, who's this famous Hot Rod magazine car guy, car suck. I'm just joking. But
car suck, bro.
He has talked about how he has this. He's had the hearing problems, and he does the 200 mile an hour Bonneville racing and all that stuff. He's done a lot of motor sports where these drag cars don't have exhaust systems and all that stuff. And he's getting serious about his hearing because he's had problems with them. And he'll use a impact gun and put a earmuffs. I got to find my earmuffs. I got to go get my earmuffs. And I remember Aniket was saying that. He's like, we use these impact guns, and if I'm holding on to something and you're using the gun and it's kind of near my head, I even think that taking the crates apart amplifies it because it's the metal. I think, man, put some earmuffs on, because 2 years from now, your ears are going to be hurting and you're not sure why. And you and I love music so much. I love hearing things. I love being able to talk to people and stuff, and going to sleep. I sleep with a fan on. I need some kind of white noise in this because of the tinnitus and stuff. And so, why not just, whatever. We're not doing wheelies. We're dorks. We wear hearing protection around here.
So another pivot.
Well,
I'm guilty at times of just wearing a t-shirt, but I agree, very bad idea. I need to be better. Any suggestions of a good mesh jacket that doesn't look lame? Yes.
I think there's one right there. No,
this is the Merlin line, which we carry. No, but interestingly enough, my favorite jacket has become, because I usually wear leather, and I don't think that it's too hot even when it's 90 degrees outside, as long as you're not in the city and you have to do a lot of stopping. On the freeway, if you're just deadheading somewhere and has vents and all that stuff, that's great. But if you get stuck in traffic, you're screwed.
Right.
My jacket that I love, that I now wear because I like to be able to wear a long sleeve shirt, and then I wear a thin rain coat under it.
Yeah.
It will rain.
You wear the warm weather meshy.
I wear a hot weather. It's called Mesh AF.
Yeah.
By Z1R. And literally it is mesh, sewn together mesh with reinforced armor pockets. End of jacket.
Well, what you're saying is you could wear layers underneath, and it's the final thing.
Yeah, because so in June, leaving from Columbus to going to New York through like eastern Pennsylvania, up in the mountainous areas, it's actually kind of cold.
Yeah.
And then in New York, it's in the morning is cold, in the evening it's cold. It's nice during the day, but the beginning of June it's chilly.
And you're on the water, specifically the camp out and stuff.
Yeah. And so it's a great jacket because it's literally just made of mesh with elbow and back protection.
Yeah, I was going to say a similar thing that I don't know if he's being serious about suggesting that thing, but I'm Mr. Flannel, and Merlin, who you can kind of see on the corner there, the gray and black flannel, but
that's
Merlin is a brand we just started carrying. They're actually designed, and some things are made in England, but they're made all over the place, like every textile thing is, but they fit our style perfectly. Honestly, the funny thing is, I don't know if this is inside baseball. Well, but this is, and I like to say,
I've recently only learned what that actually means. So
inside baseball means we run a motorcycle shop. So some of this is like the details of what it's like to like be in the biz.
I thought it was insider trading.
Yeah. But it's about being in the biz. If you're not in the biz, maybe none of this makes any sense or you don't care about this. But basically, the guy said, in order to become a Merlin dealer, you need to buy, I can't remember what it was, but it was a couple $1,000s worth of Merlin stuff, or maybe even wasn't even like 1,000 or something. And I was like, first of all, I want to buy a bunch of stuff, and I think we would do well in our store, and we really want to commit to it. But if that's all you need, Dylan will become a dealer because he wants to buy $1,000 worth of stuff. It's funny because how many times I never talk about myself in the third person, but anyway, here I am. So, but my point is, me personally, I want to buy all their stuff. So I have a jacket that I have now, which is a flannel. I mean, it looks just like this flannel that I wear every single day. And then it has the least expensive, because they're trying to cut down the cost on that one. I think it's $179. Am I right? Maybe $149. I can't remember. Anyway, it's pretty inexpensive for motorcycle riding gear, but it has the foam version of the armor, so sort of the first level of the armor. It's great for protection, but it doesn't move with you as much. So they have this next level armor called Ghost, and the whole point is because you forget it's there. It literally feels,
and that's legitimate.
Oh yeah, I know. It literally feels like you're wearing like one extra layer. It's crazy.
There's a hoodie on underneath your jacket.
Yeah,
and that's
it's crazy. It's fabric. It kind of looks like chainmail. If chainmail was like it's a non-Newtonian or whatever. So if it takes an impact, it actually stiffens up the molecular structure. Very scientific.
So
you didn't know you were going to get so much science.
When you
here.
say like chainmail, you mean like it's like
it's
bendy.
It's built like chainmail.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of little triangles connected, or maybe hexagons or whatever. But it's a bunch of triangles connected, and it moves with you. So it flexes with you. And anyway, I wore that a lot this year. It's basically a flannel with the chainmail. So I upgraded the armors when I say we sell that D30 Ghost, and that's the brand name and the flexible kind. We sell it right next to it. So you basically buy that jacket, and then you could buy it and ride it all season and use or never replace that foam armor that it comes with, and you'd be fine. And if you were in an accident, you would be 100% fine with the armor. But I just think
legal disclaimer:
if you're gonna wear it every day like I am, or a lot of times as often as I am, I thought, why not upgrade it? Because this flexible armor just feels so much more comfortable. You forget you're wearing it.
I have the jeans,
yeah,
as do you,
me too.
and it has the Ghost armor in it.
Yeah.
And I wore them all day.
You totally forget. By the end of the day, you're like, oh, right. Yeah.
Like so I have I have the men's pants.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I noticed is that the knee is a little lower than I would like them to be. And
I
that's
kind of
just
always
because
think
I'm
that
shorter.
anyway. I kind of always think that anyway. Because, well, you know why mine is, because my pants are always a little lower. Just what's comfortable to me is like a little below my waist. I know that sounds funny, the natural waist or whatever, the true waist.
But on top of that,
it makes the pants a little.
It's hard to. I mean, there's hip armor in there. And the pants look normal.
It feels like it's just thicker there on the sides.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, that's definitely my recommendation. As the weather gets nicer, as the season picks back up, we're going to be
gear has gotten better at being more streetwear.
And so that's Merlin's whole thing, is that it doesn't say Merlin right across the chest. It's all
I meant
very
more from
stealth.
a comfort perspective,
yes,
but
that's
from
what I mean
an
in general, is that it's meant to look and feel like you're just wearing your regular clothes that you would wear all the time, but it's protects you in an accident.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that we are we are at it's 8:48.
I know, it's so late. That's why I knew we needed to do the Midwestern goodbye at least.
We're gonna Midwestern goodbye our way out of here.
Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the year. What is that what you meant? You want me to say thank you?
I wanted you to say the words that say bye-bye.
And then thanks to all the support, the people that are watching this, the people that have bought all this stuff and show up to our movie nights and our Friendsgiving. There was so many. This place was packed for Friendsgiving. We are just so lucky to have this community. This is one of those things we joke about it because everybody says we have a community or whatever, and then just like it's a pretend community. We have this serious community that is just honestly humbling and overwhelming to Nicole and I, and to my dad. My dad and I are constantly talking about this. How many people show up for movie night, and how many people show up for an event or a bike night or a kickstands of coffee or cider and donuts or the cider run ride, which was just us being kind of silly and making a joke out of like, let's go get the cider. So if you're going to have to do it anyway, let's just make it a ride. And it wanted to be a fantastic ride. And everybody had a great time.
It was 99.9% perfect.
Yeah, it was great. And so I just want to say thanks for that. So the wrap up of 2023 is one of gratitude, because Nicole and I will speak for her again, is that we are very appreciative of the community and all the people that watch. Especially if you're watching at this point, past a couple of Midwestern goodbyes and all
RD
that.
has benchmarked us at 15 minutes Midwestern.
Thank you. Is that if you're watching this at this point, I mean, it's just you have no idea. I'll never be able to explain to you how much I appreciate that, even though I try every time. So thank you again, and hopefully we're going to try to do more. Our plan is to double the amount of videos that we did this year in the next year. So, and that's not even that many really, if you think about the actual numbers. But
I've been mulling around actually editing.
You might come
videos.
out with a video.
Maybe.
Road Worrier. Sometimes she says it, or sometimes people say it fast. She worries a lot. I think that's very obvious about why the events are good, why the rides are good, why the rest of that stuff is because she sits and worries and sweats the small stuff. She worries about the details.
So that you don't have to.
Ding. So that's her Road Worrier motto on the YouTubes or the Instagrams, and probably most of the people if you're watching this would know
Fun fact, I also now have TikTok.
Oh yeah, you've had TikTok for a while. You said I also now, but they're great.
I mean, I've had TikTok for as long as I haven't made a YouTube video.
It's like a riddle. Okay. for exactly as many minutes, which then you're like, okay.
One train leaves the station at point A and intersects with an orange.
Well, I guess that actually says a lot. Maybe you've been thinking about that too, but that must be the reason why you went on to another platform. She don't do no YouTube no more.
I had some unsavory experiences related to YouTube with people watching, and then a specific video that I was recording, and then editing gets me. Like, I haven't cried at a computer since college prior to learning Adobe Premiere. So
no, it is too powerful.
And I'm not technologically skilled enough to record properly, and I had to fix most of my videos in post-production. There was a learning curve. There's a learning curve to any of the GoPro and all our audio setup specifically. We just talked about the other day of doing the dual moto vlogging, which is a technological thing to pull off. But anyway, hopefully you look forward to some more stuff from us. We are actually open next week, which is crazy, I know. No one else is, and so is the power even going to be on around here? I don't know. The holidays are just already on our days off.
I know that's we have a really weird schedule. Someone said, "Oh, what days are you off this week or this year for the holidays?"
Normal.
Christmas Eve is Sunday, so we're off Sunday anyway in the winter, and so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday we're back the day after, and then. Is he making a joke about Midwestern?
Yeah, he said, "Is this the same Midwestern goodbye?" Yes, it is.
Yes, it's all the same. It's all one goodbye. Come on, you're from the Midwest, or at least you're currently there. I don't know where he's from originally, but
I actually don't know either.
This is exactly what we would do at Christmas. So I go to Christmas or whatever. And here you want some pie, and they load up on the leftovers, and then you just say, how's grandma? You just like start a new conversation.
I just love because Artie's like 20 Midwest minutes.
Yeah, he's not stopping. So,
in a Midwest minute.
He's even more Midwest than us, so he gets it. I hope. Anyway, the graphic is going to make it all make sense, people. It's really going to tie things
One
together.
of my favorite videos I ever made, was that I was counting my own "That's What She Said" jokes, and I had a little giggity counter.
Yeah.
And he zoomed in whenever there was a giggity to be made. And those are things that I stopped doing because I was stressing myself out about trying to get them to be. But
you need to just make the best things that you did with your videos were just these jokes that I know were only for you. And I thought that was so funny. I think you're so funny. And when you're doing something that you think that other people are going to like, it's not quite as funny if you're just like, I know you did that because you think that's funny.
Because my humor is not everybody else's humor.
I don't care. I literally don't care. And I think that's the whole point, is be yourself kind of thing on the internet. But the thing that sucks is...
Oh, but believe me, those people on the internet don't want me to be myself.
I know. I don't agree with that. What we were in the ultimate whelp turn, is that the thing about it is you see some fake. We've been joking about the fake people, or the fake people on YouTube, or the people that are just making a video because they have to get one out this week or whatever. But you kind of you learn to appreciate doing a lot of this stuff and being yourself, exposing yourself, using the shop that you actually own and are at every day, and riding your actual motorcycle and giving your actual thoughts and opinions, and maybe my actual friends are in the video and stuff. Putting your actual genuine self out there is tough sometimes, and so you kind of learn to appreciate when someone does a character. Because then if someone...
It's a lot of effort.
If I'll do a character, and then if someone says, "I don't like you, you're stupid," or "Your laugh sucks," or whatever,
great, that's
actually not me. That's the character.
So
what's tough is you've gotten some negative comments. Everybody that does if you put any video or anything on YouTube, you get negative comments. You get negativity, or what you get is this weird attitude of like, these people make the comment, and then when you actually talk to them in person or have a conversation with them, you realize they didn't mean it that way. But you don't know how you sound sometimes. Like, you should have done this. It's like, might I make a suggestion, or next time I'd love to see it in the light, or whatever. I'm hitting the one that I was the most recent one where the guy was like, "You should take it outside. Other than that, good video." And it was like,
well, actually,
who are you to tell me how to do it? But I think that it's just because it's in text, and there's no I've never spoken to this person or whoever. The generic hypothetical comment is, you've never spoken to these people before, and the first time they say anything is, I don't like your hair or whatever, or you don't know how to pronounce this.
You don't
word.
know how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah,
well, I am
you don't
actively
use the
doing
clutch
it.
properly or whatever, and you're just like, maybe that's not the introduction to someone. Maybe that's the first thing you say to someone or whatever. So I get it. I get why people do the character, or they have a bit of a mask or a facade.
We're going to end this on Roland's comment because I like it. Just make the video for you that you like. That makes it work for the viewers. Can't worry about all the negative yahoos.
I agree.
Which is what these lives are, and I think that they're received pretty well, is that we don't... I used to come into these, with like an itinerary, and it'd be way more business focused, I think. And now I think we realize it's whatever.
Are you sure? I thought this one was a rambling mess.
I said I used to. I used to have a Post-it note where I would be like, here's the things we have to cover.
That was gonna be my note. We need more of a Post-it note.
Oh, well, I stopped doing those because it's like
I don't know. I'm actually sort of joking. I don't really know which is better.
I learned my life lessons from Bob's Burgers, and that is I do not have to have a burger of the day. My shop coffee doesn't have to be every day. My live stream doesn't have a Post-it note itinerary.
The whole point of these, which I think we've accomplished even in this one, is that we're going to be gone, or people are going to be out for a while for the holidays or whatever. We're busy during the day and a lot's going on around the shop, or you can't make it to the shop. So if you want to visit with us and ask us questions and see what's going on at the shop, or just kind of check in with, how are things going at the shop, what's new, that's the point of this. Mm-hmm. That's the entire point of Quittin Time.
Well,
it is time to hit the old dusty trail.
It is time.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time in the new year.
Bye. Oh, the lights. The lights hurts our eyes.